Do you hear me now? Do you hear me now? Okay. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is so good to see many of you. I feel like if you have friends that you had a really good time with last night, text them and tell them they don't want to miss out on this content that is coming up. We had a blast last night. I know many of you maybe even went out after the boat, but it was a great time. So big thanks again to Kaseya for sponsoring that for us and allowing us to have a memorable experience together. So we're on the last day of Growcon. It has been such a great event from my perspective in the sense of community. So one of the things that I've talked about yesterday and even the day before is what we like to do a little bit different is create a more intimate experience to develop real relationships. We all know that everyone in business wants to do business with those that they have sound relationships with, those that they enjoy doing business with, those that they trust. Relationships are such a huge, huge, huge part of business. And I think sometimes that's overlooked, right? We don't pay enough attention to that. So I'll get into in a second. I'm going to do some housekeeping, but I'm going to introduce a speaker in just a moment that is going to dig deep on that topic. And it's something that I can't wait to hear. And I can't wait for each and every one of you to go home with just another element to help you grow your business when it comes to communication and relationships. So we'll get into that for a second, in a second rather. But today we're talking about turning dreams into realities. Again, we have a 3-part series. We did more leads, day 1. We talked about how to generate leads for your business, what that looks like. We did more sales, how to close the deal, how to actually take that lead that you got and how to turn it into revenue, how to multiply your revenue. We had a lot of great sessions, not only on main stage about each of those topics, but then upstairs in the workshops. So I look forward to hearing more feedback. I had a lot of great conversations yesterday, and I'm hearing the buzz and each of you connecting to each other and having very real discussions on how you can take that content and put it to work. So I love hearing that. So today, we're gonna talk about the next piece. So once you get these portions down, it's how do you put that into play and how do you take what you're thinking about and what you're dreaming about and how you envision your life. If you're not sitting in that today, which many of you may be well on your way. Others of you might be sitting in more of what we call a dreamer state, where you're thinking about it, you want to be there, but there's no plan in place. The fact that you probably won't be there is more likely because there's no action that's been put into place yet. So today we're going to talk about how to get there, how to make it a reality, how to be one of the individuals that you heard up here on stage yesterday saying, you know what, 5 years ago or 15 years ago I should have done this, but I did do it 3 years ago and look where I am now. I did take the action that I needed to build a plan to achieve whatever my goals or dreams were. I took that action 2, 3, 5 years ago, and it was a lot of hard work, and now look where I am. People are looking at me, I'm about to sell my business, or I'm traveling now, I'm spending time with family. Whatever your dreams are, we want to turn those into reality. So I'm going to go over some housekeeping with you. Here is what our agenda looks like today. So again, this is day 3. I know we've had a blast. Stick with it. We've got a couple more hours of just amazing, amazing content for you. So first up, I'm going to introduce him in just a second, but we're going to have a session on relationships. So this is a little bit different, right? You've noticed by now, you've been here for 3 days, and if you're in our core group of Marketopia clients, you know that there's something going on there, right? There's a growth mentality, there's a bond, there is a synergy. It's fun to grow. It's fun to succeed, it's fun to win, and it's really fun to be around like-minded peers that are trying to do that too, that are motivating each other and inspiring each other. So that's what this is all about. So if you are a Marketopia client, I have loved spending time with you. If you're not, I love that you're even here, that you're on the mindset that you want to grow, and that you've been a part of and interacting with those who have made the decision to get there too. So we're going to have an amazing session on relationships to start off, then we're going to break into Expo. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. Terry is going to do a session on 10 million exit in 10 years, so definitely want to come back and be a part of that as well. Yesterday we teed up this lessons from the trenches. So Tim Conkle, head of the 20, if you've not met him, you definitely should. He is going to be leading a panel with some of the winners that you saw awarded yesterday. He's going to be talking with them about how did it go? What does that look like? What are the lessons that you have to give to everybody else who might be in the trenches right now? So great individuals on that panel. You absolutely want to be a part of it. Then Terry's going to round us out with putting a bow on this entire event. How do we take what we learned and make it actionable and go back and actually do what we're telling ourselves we want to do in our head. That's what he's going to do. That's the difference between those that are going to get there and those that aren't. And we've heard a lot of stats. You heard Joe Panettiere up here. You heard many other industry experts that have been talking about the reality of the situation. And it's that the lion's share of businesses are not going to get where they want to go. I even cried because it's emotional for me, right? I know what you want, and I want to help you get there, and we all want to help you get there, and your peers want to help you get there. So let's take action and just stop thinking about these amazing things that we want in our life, and you will get there. So he's going to come up, talk about the decisions that you need to make, what you need to do to actually take your business and your life to the next level. And then we're gonna break to lunch. So that will be our last event, main session together. We're going to break to lunch and we'll have a book signing. So the next speaker that will come up, he's got an amazing best-selling book, is the session that he's going to speak to you on. He's going to be doing a book signing. Make sure you meet him. Make sure you pick up that book. It could be the difference in your business and your life and your relationships. So we're going to do a book signing, and then after that, we've got peer groups. So there's peer groups and small groups going on this afternoon. Those of you who have met Marketopia clients, we do peer groups inside of Marketopia. So there are different peer groups, and we meet and we go through many different things about the business. We coach together, we inspire each other, we work together, and it's a blast. If you are interested in understanding what that looks like, if you're interested in seeing what a peer group or what even we're talking about, you're welcome to come in and join a portion of the peer groups and come in and just have a listen or ask some questions. So those are going to be going on upstairs, and it's peer group A and peer group B that are meeting. We also have small groups. If you are a vendor or if you are an individual who have questions for myself or maybe individuals on my team, we can carve some time, we'll grab a spot to talk, and maybe if it's not at this event, we can schedule some time for later. But again, we are here to help. We are here to help you grow. And then, last but not least, there are a handful of Marketopia team members who are success coaches, and we're going to talk about growth. So we actually have an event tomorrow at our offices, and we're going to do some talk about growth there. Today, they're going to be doing some planning here as well. So it is going to be an amazing day. Stick with it, soak up all of it, and I'm just really, really, really looking forward to seeing what you do with your businesses. So without further ado, let me just thank some sponsors. Again, I know I've said this and I'll continue to say it. Thank you to our diamond sponsor, Kaseya, who is being partner first in everything that they do. It's great to see. And then also our gold, silver, and bronze. If you have not met everyone, make sure you do. That is something that we do differently here. This is not a speed dating type of event. This is a have real conversations, really meet your vendors, understand how they can help you, get to the root of asking the questions that you need to know, and make a real relationship that will last you past this event. That's the goal. So if there are things in your business that you need, that is why they are here and they want to help you. And then again, we've got some emerging vendors. I'll call out Gong since Gong is here as well, and Vade. So if you've never even heard or seen some of these names, that's the goal. We want to bring other things to the table so that you can understand, wait a second, okay, maybe I've heard some of these names. Maybe I think I know what they do, or maybe you even use them as a business. How could I use that differently? How could I resell that differently? How could I help my clients with that as well? So make sure that you check out them, and then as well as our partners, so media sponsors and groups. All right, so we're gonna get into our content for this morning, and I'm really excited. This next speaker, he is, again, best-selling author. He has led multiple organizations from a C-suite perspective in very different industries, and he's got a lot to share. You may even have seen him on some of the speaking engagements that he does. He does a speaking circuit for his book. He also is in a kind of coaching mentality as well with businesses. So he helps businesses grow from a consulting perspective, and he's really excited to talk to you today. So what he's going to talk to you about is being a kick-ass husband or wife and business leader at the same time. So without further ado, Matthew Hoffman, come on up.
Thank you so much. All right, appreciate it. All right, appreciate that introduction. I'm going to say good morning. Oh, my Lord. Let's try that one more time. All right, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, that's what I like to hear. Well, I am excited to be with you today talking about one of my favorite topics, but I'd like to kind of get to know my audience a little bit. So I'm going to ask by a show of hands, if you could please tell me Raise your hand. Who here is married? All right, good, good. I see a lot of hands go up. That's great. Now, who here is happily married? Okay, and most of those hands stood up. That's a good thing. It gives me an idea of where you all. And I got to tell you that right now, I am happily married, right? I am working on my 30th year, and it hasn't always been rainbows and sunshine, but I'm in a great place now because of what I've learned and how I've applied it. Now, the truth is, I don't know you. And you don't know me. I had the opportunity to speak to some of you yesterday in some workshops and get in the deep issues of conflict resolution, reducing stress in your relationships, and how to do that. But what I do know, if you're here, you have a growth mindset. You are doing the work and learning the things you have to do to grow your businesses and build something that is going to last. Something that's going to give you and your family what you need. It's going to feed you. You're going to be excited about it. And it's going to grow you professionally. So you have that mindset, and that's a good thing because it's going to lead right into what we're going to talk about here today. And that is critical communication. And we're going to jump into that in a minute. My wife does call me a kick-ass husband. That is not a title I gave myself, nor is it a title that I just get to have. I have to work every single day on doing that. And I ask how I'm doing in it. And, you know, I feel that way today. I've done a lot of work. I've put the effort in so I get to reap the benefits. But I also have to tell you that I didn't always feel that way growing up. I was the youngest of 3 kids. I had 2 older sisters. Every time I would come into a room, they would scream out, WLSS, right? I was a little kid. I didn't know. I had this big head and this bony little body. And, you know, when you're the youngest brother and you have 2 older sisters, you get made fun of. Every time I'd come into the room, WLSS, right? Wiggly, little, scrawny skeleton. How many of you would love to have that nickname growing up, right? Needless to say, tons of psychological damage. I've been in counseling for years trying to recover from being abused from that time with my 2 older sisters. But the good news, my mom was at least on my side, right? The 3rd woman in my life, she said, don't worry, honey. You know, you're just my little bony wiggles, right? So she had her own name. My grandmother got in on it. So the 4 women in my life growing up, lots of horrible nicknames. Fast forward to today. Some of my hobbies are cooking and a chef. In fact, I make sourdough bread, organic sourdough bread every week. I have a starter. His name is Lenny. He's living. I feed him, and I make this bread. I keep a loaf, and I give a loaf away. So my youngest son, who's here today in school right now, he said, Dad, I got a great nickname for you. I go, oh, my son's getting on it too. He goes, Dad, we should call you the Master Baker. And I said, no, buddy, I don't think I'll take that name on. And so you can call me Baker, you can call me Cook, but please, let's stay away from that. So I have a question for you all. We're talking today about radical communication. And it's not the names that we're called growing up, right? It sucks to have a nickname that you don't like, maybe a name that debases you and makes you feel less than, right? That's not really a big thing today, though. The problem and what we run into today is that we fail to communicate with the people we love the most, the people that matter the most, the business clients that are most important to our life. We fail to use radical communication. We don't share what we need to get from the relationship, and we certainly fail to find out what they need to get from the relationship to feel empowered and full of life. And if you're not winning at home in that number 1 human relationship, it is really difficult to win in your business. A lot of people say, you know, you leave the personality, the home stuff at the door when you come into the office. But we all know it's impossible to do. There's not separation. You're the same person in your business and at home. And it's hard to keep those 2 things apart. So the question I have for you is, how are you using radical communication? And I say radical communication because the definition of radical means inherent, essential, true to the core, what's real. What kind of radical communication are you using in your relationship? How much time are you allocating that to the person who means more to you than anybody else? If you're married, that partner, that spouse, that best friend, what kind of communication are you doing with them? Is it just the communication that needs to be done? Like, what time is dinner? Where are we going for the game? Who's picking up the kids, right? Or is it life-giving stuff? Is it something more like, tell me about how that presentation went today with that client? Did you get the deal? What happened? That kind of communication. Unfortunately, most of our communication is listening to respond, not to understand. And in our personal relationships, when it's perfunctory and we're just talking to somebody and we're just, yeah, the weather and this is how it's going and a good weekend, yeah, me too, the game, yeah, oh my gosh, can you believe the quarterback on that team, right? When it's all that surfacey stuff, you're not getting understanding. You're not getting understanding of your partner, who's the person that you're spending all that time with, and you're certainly not getting understanding of the clients and the people who are key to your success. One thing that you have to remember in all of your interactions and your communication with somebody is that there are two realities in every relationship, and they're both real. I'm going to say that again. There's two realities in every relationship, and they're both real. That means you are thinking and taking information, you're listening to your spouse, what does she have to say to you, your kids, at work, your office, and your clients. You're making judgments and feelings and positioning yourself based on your perspective. And you have the right to do that. No one can tell you, don't think that way. You can't feel that way. Just get over it. But guess what? There's another reality in the relationship you have with your partner and your spouse, and it's real. So why sometimes do we say to our partners, to our spouses, are we there again? Haven't you gotten over this yet? Can't you just move on? Just forget about that. It's not real. And what about our clients? When your client, your number one customer is saying, here's our biggest need, and either you're not listening and hearing it, or you discount it and you go, well, that's not really a big problem, right? Two realities in every relationship, and they're both real. I'm going to share some statistics with you about marriage that I bet you did not know. Over 90% of people in Western culture marry by the age of 50. 90%. A lot of people are jumping into marriage, right? Here's some other statistics. Every 13 seconds, there's a divorce in the U.S. That means in the time that I've been speaking to you today alone, more than 50 people have already gotten divorced. And if you think that is scary, in the United States, 50% of married couples divorce. It's the 6th highest rate of divorce in the world, right here in our country. And you say, why is that? What happens? There are some real good reasons for getting divorced. Either there's infidelity or there's abuse. You hear irreconcilable differences. It happens. But I don't know about you, 50% win rate? If someone said, hey, let's go skydiving. Hey, what are the rates my chute will open? 50%. You guys can all sign up for that one, right? What would you do in life or business that has a 50% success rate? Especially if it's going to be your life going on the line, right? It's a horrible statistic. The most commonly reported major contributors to divorce were lack of commitment. Commitment, you're going to hear me talk about more of that a little bit later. Commitment is really the cornerstone of a foundation. Anybody here is in construction? They set a cornerstone because it's what they build everything else off of. And if that cornerstone is right and at the correct angle and in the right place and level, it means everything else in the foundation is going to work and everything else on top of that. Lack of commitment. Lack of commitment means you're entering into a relationship, you're going, you know what? This doesn't work out. I got another plan, right? I can just jump. Doesn't work out, I'll go someplace else. Grass is greener, I'll find something better. So I can go into this and not be committed. Infidelity is the second. Grass is greener. And what a myth that is. Grass is greener on the other side. Well, the grass is greenest where you water it, right? And where you take care of it. And so how well are you watering the grass in those relationships that give you that lifeblood in your personal life and in business? And the third is conflict and arguing. The workshops I did yesterday, had the pleasure of working and talk to you some of that. Conflict and arguing is toxic to relationships. because you spend more time, energy, angst, huge cortisol levels, all those things that just are not sustainable, you spend on conflict instead of doing things that support you, make you stronger, and make you more effective. So I'm going to tell you a story about a guy named Bob. Bob is in the latter years of his life, right? He could be in his golden years, right? He's living his last 3, 4, 5 years, who knows? His health is good, but let me tell you some more details about Bob. Bob has the most incredible homes. He's got several multi-million-dollar homes all over the country and even a ski place over in Europe, right? He's got airplanes that take him anywhere he wants to go with all his friends anytime he wants. He's got the yacht he can reposition and fly to in his airplane and go on, okay? He's got more investments and money in his bank account than you can imagine. In fact, everybody in this room would be more than thrilled with just a portion of what Bob has happened to accumulate over his business career. Incredibly successful in business. However, his relationships are not good. His second wife is 23 years younger than him. You know, you might think that's a wonderful thing, except where Bob is right now, he's pushing 90 and she's in her mid-60s. Huge disparity in what they're experiencing. They struggle to connect, have anything meaningful and shared experiences in their life. Well, what about Bob's kids? Bob's kids don't love to spend time with him, right? Because they don't have a great relationship with him because he was never there. He was always working, provided for his kids. They didn't want for anything, but they don't have strong relationships that they've built up. He's got 7 grandkids. His grandkids don't really want to be with him because they don't like it. He doesn't make them feel good. He's demanding. He's not nurturing. He has high expectations, but he doesn't feed their soul and give them what they need. Bob's classmates, those that are still living, and his business associates that used to work with him, they don't even want to be with him very much because they don't like how they felt when they were with him, demanding and controlling. So here Bob is coming towards the last, what should be the golden years, the best days of his life. And he is worried more about what's going to happen to my money. Where's all my funds going? Who's going to spend it when he's gone? That's his legacy. Instead of basking in the glow of all the incredible relationships he's built with his wife, with his kids, with his grandkids, with his community, with his friends and neighbors. So I don't know about you, but I don't want to be Bob. And I don't think you want to be Bob either. I think you're working so hard right now to build something because you want to be successful, but you want to build a legacy of goodness that lasts longer than a thing. And that happens in relationships. And that's why we're talking about communication today. Communication is the crazy glue that you dump all over your relationship, and it's going to bond and connect you to your life partner, the person you said I do to, and everybody that truly matters to you most in the best way. That's why we have to be intentional and specific and planned in our communication. So what does good communication look like, you might be thinking? Well, communication happens when you reach out intentionally to your partner during the day to connect and communicate. How often do you do that? How often do you connect with your partner on a day-to-day basis? Is it in the morning before you leave to work? Are you texting? Are you doing phone calls? Stupid memes, videos, emojis? Are you sexting? Yeah, that's a good way to flirt if you want to do that. You can do that too. I'm a huge fan of the written word. I love to write my wife letters. Even when I'm in town, I'm not going anywhere. I'll write her a love letter. I'm still there. She'll get it out of the mailbox because I want her to hear my voice on her own and hear what I have to say to her. And she does it for me as well. Good communication happens when you share love and adoration. And it's not just, hey, babe, I love you, right? But it's why. Why do you love and adore them? And I don't know about you, I love when people tell me why they love me and that they do love me. I never get enough of that. When you express gratitude to them and intentionally ask specifically about the positive impact they're having in your life. It's one thing to say, I love you. It's another thing to say, I love you because you do this. You impact me this way. The goodness that you exclusively embody and bring to me makes me feel better, stronger. That's what great communication is. So, when you choose to go deep emotionally, when you're speaking from your heart and not from your head, that's hard to do because we have to be vulnerable when we have that kind of communication. Vulnerability in communication is critical. With your partner, you're telling them what you are excited about, your hopes and dreams, what you're afraid of, right? What's not going well, what keeps you up at night when you choose to go deep emotionally. When you communicate through loving touch, physical support, and through all kinds of intimacy, not just in the bedroom, right? Most men, when they're asked what intimacy is, our first response is sex. And hey, that is a form of intimacy, absolutely. But there are so many other forms of intimacy you can and should be working on in that number one human relationship. There is intellectual intimacy, right? That's when you grow with your partner. When you're learning something together. It's a new experience that maybe neither of you have done before, and you're in it together. That creates a bond. There's spiritual intimacy. It doesn't have to be religious. It could be. But if you pray together, go to a religious service together, you study together, when you learn more about your faith together, that's spiritual intimacy. There's experiential intimacy, which men love because we are, by nature, experience-driven. We like to do. We want to get our hands in it. We want to experience. Goat yoga on the beach, right? Who here's done goat yoga on the beach, right? Oh, I see a few hands going up. That is a fun and crazy experience. That's experiential intimacy. And then there's physical intimacy that doesn't include sex. A hand on the thigh, a massage, a hug, holding hands, brushing up, a hug, right? All the physical intimacy that lets your partner know, I'm here, I'm with you, I'm connected to you, I love you, I'm in it with you. And then there is, the sex, which happens, intimacy, physical intimacy is one. But when you've worked on all the others, that's what makes that last one so good. It happens when you communicate consistently, authentically, and vulnerably. You bare your soul, and you are willing to talk about anything. So now, we have 14 pillars on our platform. I think, and I believe, and I work with all the coaches in business and on the personal side, that if you're going to have a kick-ass relationship, and I don't know about you, but that's how I want to be. I don't want to be good or cute or okay. I want to be kick-ass, right? These are the 14 qualities. And I'm going to start at the bottom. Fun and humor. Security. Appreciation. Faith and moral code. Servant leadership. Unity. Selflessness. Lasting love. Intimacy. Trust and honesty. Then we get into the top three. And those top three are right there because we call those the 3 C's. That's your foundation in your relationship. The first one is commitment. The second is communication. And the third is conflict or problem resolution. They call those the 3 C's. And if you are a master at the 3 C's in your most important relationships, you got a great foundation. And you can build anything from there. But when I work with couples, individuals, or companies, we spend most of our time on those 3 C's because you can never be good enough at the basics, right? Never. So we're going to go deep on communication today and the rest of the time that we have together. But because I don't want you to feel gypped, I'm going to give you something in just a moment. Think back, for those of you that are married, do you remember when you said, I do, right? Maybe some of you wrote your own vows and got really creative and you waxed eloquently about what you're going to do and all the things you're going to commit to in the relationship. And that's beautiful. Maybe you said to have, to hold, in sickness and in health, right? Richer for poor. Maybe you said kind of that script that was given you by the pastor or whoever the officiant was before God and all those witnesses when you got married. And that's okay too. Here's the problem. The problem is we said we're going to do all these things, but did you come back to your partner and say how? How are we going to do that? How are we going to demonstrate commitment to each other? How are we going to communicate so both our needs get met? How are we going to handle conflicts? Because you know they will arise, right? Conflicts are a natural part of life and they're normal in every relationship. How are you going to handle the conflicts when they come up? You just wing it, come from your own experience, right? If you're not intentional in how you do these things and you make sure that the way you're doing them are filling your partner up and giving them what they need, then you're flying by the seat of your pants by accident. So I have something for everybody that's here today. When I coach and work with people, we do what are called dynamic dates. I have dynamic date worksheets on every single one of those 14 pillars you saw, and it's my gift to you for free. If you want it, take a screenshot of this, QR code, talk to me at the book signing, and you can get this free element. You can work on a specific one if you're struggling with it. Like, shoot, man, what do you mean my communication is so bad? We give you a dynamic date sheet, and it says, ask you questions you have to write answers to, and you have to do a little soul searching and thinking. Your partner does the same thing. You get together, and we call it a dynamic date because you exchange information. You share things. And I guarantee you, if anyone goes through all 14 of these dynamic dates, you're going to know your partner better, deeper, and be more connected. Because it's going to force you to have conversations you probably haven't had. And you're going to learn something about your partner that I bet you didn't know. So you can grab that and download it, and we'd love to give you that. It's a PDF with the 14 pillars and one for every single one of those. So, what does communication have to do with a fiery VW bus? Well, guess what? I'm going to tell you. It was a Saturday. We used to live here in Tampa, Florida, for those of you that might be local, and it was time to get our work detail done for the day. We were going to Home Depot. My wife and I were sitting in our 1976 VW bus. Her name was Louise. And we are going to Home Depot to get all the stuff we need to do the projects that we want to get done that day. We're cruising down Dale Mabry, 3x3 divided highway, and all of a sudden the car dies. Try to restart it, doesn't happen. Grab someone who's crossing the street and say, hey buddy, can you help us push this car over to the parking lot? We push it to the parking lot, and when we get there, I jump back in the car, and we're in it. I try to start it one more time. Doesn't turn over. I look up in the rearview mirror, and I see smoke. And I think there might be some fire. I turn to my wife, and I say, uh-oh, we might have a problem. She said, what do you mean? I said, I think there's some smoke or fire back there. She said, oh my gosh. She looks in the rearview mirror. She turns around. Fire! We're on fire! We got to get out of here! And she immediately tries to open the door, and she's doing it. It doesn't work, and she's opening, and she's panicking. She's saying, we got to get out of here! We're on fire! And she looks back, and the smoke is getting higher, and the flames are getting more. You guys remember in cars pre-1980, 79, you can move the door handle all you want, nothing happens. There's no electric door lock to click on the thing and make the lock go up. You have to lean over and lift up the lock, right, for the door to open. So I lean over and I lift up the lock. The door flies open and she tries to get out, and she tries to get out. Her seatbelt is still on. And she's hysterical. She's like, oh my gosh, we got to get out of here. We're on fire. She gets the seatbelt off, runs out of the parking lot, and gets to a very far, safe distance away. I look up in the rearview mirror again, and now the flames and the smoke have gotten a lot bigger, and I realize I got to get the heck out of here. So I get out of the vehicle. I start to back up. I'm pulling my phone out to dial 911, and I go, oh, I got a fire extinguisher behind the driver's seat. I'll just go back in and put the fire out. I take a couple steps closer to the car, and then I realize, oh, those LP propane tanks, they're full. I don't think I want to get close to that. I back up, 911, what's your emergency? My car's on fire. As I'm talking about it, I hear the sirens, I see the fire truck, and they come and they put the fire out. Total loss, right? Nobody wants to touch it. And I've got this vehicle that's burned to the tires. Here's the takeaway. When you are in stressful, critical, sensitive situations, the quality, timing, and frequency of your communication determines the lasting impact those situations have. It's when it goes to heck, right? In your personal relationship or in the business relationships, how you handle yourself, how you communicate, what you say and how you say it makes the difference. Imagine if in that situation I had chosen not to communicate with my wife. Sounds silly, right? What if I hadn't helped her unlock the car door? What if I hadn't helped her get out of the car? What if I had not answered or addressed her concerns? In that moment, she does not care about the facts of the situation. Fact, we were on fire. Fact, the door lock has to be pulled up with your hand. Fact, you got to undo the seatbelt to get out. Fact, if the LP tanks explode, it's going to send shrapnel. It could hurt or kill us. All facts, but irrelevant in the situation because we were operating on emotion. When your partner is operating on emotion, you got to have the conversation to address what's going on right in front of your nose, as hard or difficult as it may be. The fastest way to kill a relationship is to not have the conversations you should. Whether it's with your life partner, that thing that's in the back of your mind, I know we got to talk about this. We got to knock down, drag out, and man, it's just not good. You know, remember like when you were in school and you had to write that term paper and you just kept putting it off and you just kept putting it off and then finally it's due the next day and you stay up all night, caffeine and no-dos just to get it done? How well did that turn out for you, right? The fastest way to kill a relationship is to not have the conversations you know you should. What about in business? When things aren't going well with a client? You got to address it and get in front of it if you want to maintain the relationship. So I'm going to give you a framework. How do I do that, you're thinking? Sounds good, but how do I do it? I'm going to give you a framework, and it's called the FATEful method. F-A-T-E. The F stands for frequent. You've got to have frequent communication. What is frequent communication? The answer, it depends. Have you gone to your partner, your spouse, and said, how often do we need to connect on X, Y, and Z for you to feel satisfied and heard and understood, right? It could be different for everybody. How often are you touching your biggest whale of a client to make sure they know what you're doing and that you're aware of what their needs are? It has to be frequent. Attentive. Attentive, think of the concierge level of a hotel. You know, my wife and I had the opportunity, we got a free upgrade through our credit card. We stayed on the concierge level of this hotel. They are anticipating every need before you need it, right? In your room, oh, you want to shine your shoes, here's a shoe shine cloth. Here's bottled water. If you need laundry, if you come here, there's espresso cappuccino 24 hours a day. They are trying to give you everything you need before you need it. Oh, and if there's anything you forgot, call this number and we'll bring it up to your room right away, right? That's attentive. That's how you should be acting to your partner, your spouse, and to your most important business relationships. Time sensitive. Is it the right time? Because I don't know about you, gentlemen in the room, but I fail at that requirement an awful lot. I approach things at the wrong time. My timing is not good. Are all the physiological needs of your partner being met? Are they hungry, angry, lonely, tired? Not the right time. Have they had a stressful day with the kids or their job? Not the right time. And empathic. Empathic means you're getting in the foxhole with them. You're next to them. You're letting them know you're there, that you want to give them what they need to feel heard, understood, valued, that you are aware of what they're going through and you're by their side. Not offering solutions and trying to solve it and remove it from them, but with them for whatever it takes. There's a great story, a wonderful example about being empathic. The slide you see right now is the CEO of a company. He's got two of his chief officers with him. And yes, they're in red high heels. Can you imagine walking a mile in red high heels, gentlemen? It is not easy, right? The reason he did this was for a fundraiser because he wanted people to know we're in just the smallest of ways. We're going to figure out what's one of the difficulties that women have to work with every single day, right? That's the expectation for a woman. Not all women have to wear high heels, but they do, or they may feel they need to, or they may like it. But walking a mile in high heel shoes, no thank you, right? But are you being empathic, empathetic? Are you able to understand just a little bit of what your partner is going through so you can feel like you're right there with them? It all comes down to this main idea. You need to fuel your relationship by putting your partner's needs in the driver's seat. your partner's needs, not your needs, right? That means that number one priority is them and what they need. I didn't say wants, right? You're not an ATM machine. I want, dispense, I want, right? It's needs. And sometimes wants and needs are the same thing. But are you giving your partner, are you giving the people you do business with what they need? And is it driving your action in the relationship? This is what I've learned. Radical communication is the key to a successful relationship. It cannot be perfunctory and matter of fact. It has to be intentional and designed to get the result that they want, your partner wants, your wife wants, your best friend wants, your top 10 customers, all your customers want. And if you don't know what that is, that's a problem. Number two, most relationships end, you heard me say, because of conversations that never happen. Are you having the difficult conversations? You ever screwed up in business? You ever done something that you go, holy crud, are we going to lose them over this? Or you got the phone this far from your ear because the CEO of that other company is screaming at you because what you said is not what happened, right? If you're not communicating in the right way and approaching that relationship and making those deposits, the conversation is not going to go well, and neither will the relationship. Here's the problem. Most people, when they communicate, they try to get their needs met. I'm focusing on what I'm going to get, what I'm going to harvest, what I'm going to take, what's coming back to me, what about mine, right? They're thinking about their favorite radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? Everybody loves that radio station, right? Sounds sweet. But they're not putting their partner's needs in the driver's seat and then working to meet those essential needs. So how do I do this? What do I do after I leave here today? Matt, sounds good, but you know what? What do I need to do? And this is true in personal relationships and business relationships. And those who joined me yesterday in the workshops know that I'm going to sound like a vacuum cleaner salesman from Boston, right? You got to be Huva, H-U-V-A. If you do this in your personal relationships and your business, you're going to knock it out of the park. Because everybody wants to be heard. Are you hearing what I have to say? How do I know it? You repeat it back to me, to your partner goes, that's exactly it, right? That's being heard. It's not because you think you said what you had to. It's because they go, I get it. You got it. You're right there. Exactly what I meant. Understood. Do you understand what your partner is going through? Can you get in their shoes and relate to it? The valued. Are you valuing them for the unique characteristics and qualities that they bring to you and to the relationship? Are you valuing your clients? And if you are, how do they know it? Based on your communication, based on your attentiveness, and appreciated. And appreciation has to be specific. It's not just, hey, I appreciate you, man. You know, good medal. Here's your trophy, right? It's not just that throwaway phrase, but it's being specific and making sure that you're telling them why you appreciate them, how you appreciate them, and what effect they have in you and your life. So heard, understood, valued, and appreciated. Robert Louis Stevenson has a great quote, and I love this. He says, don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds you plant, right? Because if you're always planting, you're always going to be harvesting. And it takes work. I know a lot of the things that you're learning at this conference is, what do I do today to make sure not just I'm successful today and tomorrow, but what about in 6 months? What about a year? Andrew mentioned, I've done something today, 3 years ago, and I'm reaping the benefit today. So what seeds are you planting? It took me a while, but I learned how to prioritize my wife's needs. It all came back to me tenfold. And I say prioritization. 90% of all issues in any relationship, personal and business, can be fixed if you learn how to appropriately prioritize the relationship. how are you putting their needs in the driver's seat? Today, in my relationship, I am happy. I'm fulfilled. I'm supported. I'm loved. I'm pursued. She's still chasing me. I'm appreciated. She lets me know what I do, how it affects her, and why she's grateful for it. And she pours into me because I am constantly looking to do the same to her. We have a great competition. We're both competitive people. We want to see who can love each other better. That's the kind of relationship you want to be in. That's the relationship that gives you the life and the blood and the oxygen to be more successful in your business. It's that radical communication. So if you're sitting there thinking, you know what, my marriage is really important to me. I want to invest in it. I have a growth mindset. Anybody that's here today, I'm happy to have a free relationship assessment call with you. If I can help you get rid of the roadblocks, if I can help you understand how do I get on the highway so I go fast and far in this relationship, I'd love to talk to you for free. Zero obligation, because I am passionate about helping people get what I have. I would love to work with you, and that's why I'm here. So you can scan this, talk to me, and I'd love to speak with you. When I speak to people, I am often asked immediately, I'm going to anticipate some questions, so I'm going to give you guys some value here. What can I do, Matt, right now? How can I start? What are some easy things I can do on my own to have an immediate impact in that most important relationship? The first one, many of you have probably heard of a book, and if you haven't, great resource. I highly recommend you read it, The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. We all have a way that we like to be loved. I see some heads nodding, so good. I'm glad some of you have that. We all like to be loved how we like to be loved. But what do we tend to do is we tend to love others the way we like to love, right? So in the 5 love languages, you're going to learn what they are. There's time, there is gifts, there's acts of service, there's words of affirmation, and there's physical touch. And my wife and I know each other's love languages, and we work really hard to deliver on that. Because I go to her and I'll say periodically, how well am I filling your love tank right now? Give me a rating on a 1 to 10. And guys and ladies, I have never gotten a 10. Never. Maybe a 9, 9.2, 9.3, sometimes 7.5, right? But there's work to do every day. But that way I know, how well am I filling your love tank? And then sometimes the question comes back to me, well, you know, how well am I filling yours, right? And we have a great opportunity for connection and bonding. Number 2, I say this every time I work with anybody in relationships, in business, or in their personal lives. Do you know the number 1 issue facing your partner, your spouse right now? What's the thing that is keeping them up at night, they're sweating about, or they're concerned about? Hopefully you know what it is. And if you don't, you need to ask. And then hopefully you're working hard to meet it and make it easier for them so it's not keeping them up and they can rest more assured about it. Now let's look at your business. Think about your biggest clients, the people that bring the most revenue into what you're doing. Do you know what keeps them up at night? Do you know what they're struggling with? Do you know what their biggest issue staring them in the face is? What are they so emotional about right now they're not seeing straight? And then what are you doing and demonstrating that you're supporting them in it? Because if you're supporting them in that and making it less and making it easier, you're going to have a great relationship and be around for a long time. And number 3 is an easy one. Stop, start, and more. Go to your partner. Let's take some guts, but you can do it and say, what one thing would you just love if I stopped doing? What one thing, right? One thing. Stop. Start. What one thing am I not doing that you'd like me to start doing? Or maybe I haven't thought about. And then the last one is more. What do I do sometimes but I'm inconsistent? And if I could be a little more consistent and do it more, what one thing would you like to see me do more of? And I guarantee you, you'll get answers if you're willing to ask the questions, right? Remember I said a little while ago, it's the questions we don't ask? So ask the questions. Stop, start, and more. I'm going to tell you another story about another individual. Remember I was talking to you about Bob? All the material pleasures, all the things that many people measure success by, he had them in spades but he didn't have the relationships, and his legacy was a bank account, okay? On the other hand, I'm going to tell you a story about Frank. Frank is a man, and I have this is a shooting star, by the way. You could say comet or shooting star, bright light. Frank is 93 years old. He was married for 54 years to the love of his life, his wife Joan. In our church, that's how I met him. We called he and his wife Mary and Joseph because, man, these people could have walked on water. They did nothing wrong, at least it sure seemed like it. And she died of cancer about 13, 14 years ago, and I actually was the officiant at that service. Really hard for me because he's such a dear friend, like a father, but also like a brother. Frank is living an incredible life because he uses radical communication in all of his relationships. His kids love him. His son-in-laws love him. His grandkids call him Pop-Pop. They can't wait to be with him. He was a successful JCPenney executive, made enough money, living a good life. He then, for 25 years, has taught English as a second language to people that immigrate here and don't know how to speak English. And he doesn't just teach them English. He teaches them how to get a job, how to get a car, how to get a mortgage, how to get a loan, and sometimes he does those things for those people to get them started in life. His dance card is full. He doesn't have enough time for the breakfast, the lunch, the dinners, the parties, the meetings. People want to be with this guy because they want to rub off just a little bit of his goodness because of how he makes them feel. He puts their needs in the driver's seat, and he always has. And look how it's come back to him. It's huge. He's leaving a legacy of people that are going to mourn his loss because of what he did for them, how he made them feel, and what he was able to do in the relationship that they had. Lots of different relationships, family, non-family. But he is going out bright. You know what he told me a few months ago? He said, Matthew, the last decade of my life has been the best decade I've ever had. The best 10 years. This is after his wife passing 13 years ago because he continues to pour into others and give, and he just gets it back in spades. His legacy is going to be incredible. So I want to be Frank. I think you want to be Frank. And I think you can be him if you commit to the kind of communication that we're talking about here today. I want to end with a little quote by Jim Rohn, and it's all about risk. If you are not willing to risk anything, you risk even more, because there is no growth without change and no change without risk. It is simple, but it's not easy. But the good news is you can be the hero in your relationship. You can be the one that's committed, learning and demonstrating and growing in your radical communication. And the other truth, everybody, you can be the hero because you are deserving and capable. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Chief Marketing Officer, Marketopia.
If anybody has any questions, I am more than happy to field any question about what we've talked about or anything at all about relationships. So if anybody has that, I know they have some mics, I'd be more than happy to respond to anything you might be thinking. And if you want to come talk to me, I will be here for a book signing later out in the lobby. I have my books available if you're interested, and I can certainly talk to you then as well.
Great job. Great job.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Give another round of applause for Matthew. So I know that session was a little bit unique, but it's so incredibly powerful. I enjoyed many, many parts of that and the parallels between relationships, whether it's home, whether it's business, and where you're trying to go and what you're trying to achieve are really deep. So I hope you got something from that. I laughed when he talked about the love languages. So not only is it hard to run businesses, obviously, many of us in this room are entrepreneurs or a leadership role and in a powerful position at the businesses that we're in, right? But doing all that, when you start, think back to day one, when you started to go out and run your own business or when you got married, you were over communicating at that time. Right? If you think back to when you were dating or when you were courting, do you remember having like late night conversations where you couldn't stop talking for hours and you were texting constantly? You knew everything because you were getting to know each other. And then once you get to that next point, it kind of dwindles off. You get married or you're together. If you don't keep that constant communication, it can fade. But it was there at one point, so it can always be found again, is how I personally feel. But it's the same thing in business, right? We at Marketopia talk a lot about it's amazing to court and market and get prospects. That's great. And everyone feels great and it's fun and it's all of that. But what happens once you get them? You need to continue that communication, either letting them know the value that you continue to bring, right? Same thing in relationships, or continuing to upsell and cross-sell, letting them know the new amazing things that you can bring to the table and that you can do with them. So keeping that going is so important. And the thing I chuckled at was the love languages. So obviously I work with my life partner and we're best friends, and we heard of the Love Languages book, and I'll never forget going through, there's a quiz in the back. So you read this book, it's really short. I don't know if we were given it or I'm not really sure how we got it, but we were on a flight going somewhere and we're like, let's just do this. Let's see what this is about. So it's a quick read. So we read it and then we did the little quiz, and it's fun to learn what the love language is, because to Matthew's point, everyone loves the way that they want to be loved. But if it's not the way that the other person wants, or if it's not the way they want to be communicated with, they don't receive it as that. If someone's love language is presence and you love acts of service and you're doing things for them they really want to gift, it doesn't work well. So knowing who you're communicating with and knowing how they want to be communicated with is so important. Even in business and in marketing, communicate where they want to be communicated. Do they want a text? Do they want an email? Do they want a phone call? Do they want to see you in person or not? So it's so important. So knowing what you're trying to achieve and knowing how to actually do that from the mindset of the prospect, that's where you win. So we're gonna break in just a moment, and we're gonna have a quick break. We're gonna do the actual book signing, but you can actually talk with Matthew out there as well. So you're able to do that. I wanna do a quick reminder for us. This is the last opportunity right now if you have not voted in our survey on the app. So vote really quick, and these are the 4 vendor awards that we are awarding. We've got best in show, we've got best offering. So make sure you get your vote in, and then we are pulling those votes in about 5 minutes. And those who won will be the ones awarded later on this afternoon. So enjoy the break and be on the lookout right after. Make sure we're back in here. We've got the panel that's coming up that I teased a little bit earlier. So Tim Conkle will be leading that panel. You're going to be hearing a lot of great information from some of the individuals you met yesterday. So definitely get back in your seats and get ready for a great show. All right, have fun.
All right, guys, we have 2 hours to go. 2 hours. It's been a great morning. You see me over there clicking away. We have 12 new clients just today alone, and I want to celebrate them. You'll notice their lanyard went from one color to the shiny gold one that indicates that they are a client, and I'm proud of them. I'm proud of them for making those decisions. I need the clicker, by the way. I don't see that. All right. Have you ever heard of the abundance mindset? I'm working on the sales training that we're going to do here in a couple weeks for the January sales training, and this session kind of inspired me to kind of reinforce that, because when you talk to people in our industry, they tend to confine themselves in their potential. You'll see people make decisions based on a scarcity mindset, this fear-based mindset where they're not really sure how they're going to get where they're going, but you tend to make really short-term decisions. Like, it's been a rough quarter. Can we pause calling for a quarter? I want to start with a half caller. I want more, but I don't want to spend more. I'm afraid. I don't want to make a change. I don't want to take a chance. I don't want to do what I'm afraid to do, but I still want to achieve the potential that I have for myself, and that's just not how things work, right? A lot of the speakers today kind of had that same message. To achieve what you want to achieve, you have to make changes to what you're doing. You have to think bigger. You have to have an abundance mindset. And one of the things I wanted to put a stake in the ground was to expand what we think is possible for our businesses. Expand with what we think is possible for exiting. Even the people that have exited, the 2 people who got the Lifetime Achievement Award yesterday, I don't know what they sold for. I really don't. I didn't get into that. It's a personal thing whether they want to share it or not. But I want to put a stake in the ground with a number of 10 million. Now, I don't know how you live, where you live. It doesn't really matter, right? $10 million is a lot of money. You sell for 10 million, you're putting 7 in the bank, maybe 6, depending on how good your CPA is, perhaps, where you live. If you live in the Northeast, maybe you have to pay some state income taxes that we don't have to pay here. So a lot of people will move here 6 months before they sell, because they can buy a house with the difference in expense. I want everybody that trusts us and trusts me and works with us, that we invest in and invest in us, to sell for $10 million. And a lot of us in here would think that's absolutely ridiculous. We look at where we are today and say it's impossible. In fact, I'd look like a business I can sell for something, or maybe $500,000 or $1 million, thinking that's good. Well, I'm here to tell you, as someone who sold my business for multiple millions, $1 million is nothing when it comes to retirement. You can spend that. I mean, Robert can buy, 3 or 4 cars and be done with that. $1 million goes fast. You have to get Uncle Sam 40%. You're going to have some big dreams, some big hobbies that you're going to want to do, and get a special car or a boat. I went crazy. I was spending $1 million a month after I sold. Kind of a dumb track I was on. But I want 10 million for you, and I think it's very possible, and today I'm going to show you how, but it starts with an abundance mindset. We're going to start talking about how we're going to stop thinking small and think big, dreaming small and dreaming big. I want you to reframe what you think is possible for yourself, because absolutely nothing is impossible. Nothing. You can achieve anything you want to achieve. When you were a small child, where you are today probably seemed like a fantasy. You could buy that house. This is Santorini, Greece, Andrew and I's honeymoon. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's a pretty amazing place. That's the caldera, the cone of a volcano. And you actually live on the edge of the volcano, and you look into this ancient volcano, which is still bubbling sulfuric air that we went and swam in, by the way, where the lava is below you and it's still bubbling up. It's kind of an interesting place. I want you to have whatever it is you dream about having, and I want you to reframe that dream as something bigger than you thought possible. I want you to start thinking about the potential for yourself and your business. I want you to think about what you could have if you could have anything. Because I'm here to tell you that everything is possible. Everything. You can get to your dream exit in 10 years. Every single person here could sell in 10 years for 10 million if they make the right decisions along the way. It's not a pipe dream, it's a wish. It could become an expectation, because we live in this really fantastic world of recurring revenue. We tend to forget about the power of recurring revenue. We tend to forget about how good we are at customer service. We're pretty good at customer retention as an industry. That's not one of our problems. There's crappy MSPs that go away or have major problems that we steal their clients, but by and large, the people in this room run well-run MSPs. You tend to keep clients for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years, somewhere in that range. And what does that do is it all of a sudden puts that 10-year horizon on the track record based on the decisions that you make. So I'm going to run you through some scenarios to show you how RMR can affect your dreams and turn that $10 million into an expectation based on the decisions that you make literally today. We're going to run through some scenarios based on a 20% lead to close ratio. Now, Jeff Newton's going to be insulted by that, because I think he was running a 70-something% close ratio. I can't quite see him with the lights. I'm sure he's out there. There he is. He'd be insulted by 20%. We have some customers who can't get out of their way and are less than 20%. They don't want to follow our methodology because they know better, but they've closed 1 out of 100 and it's Marketopia's fault, that kind of thing. So we're going to use a pretty conservative, realistic number. Our goal for you is 25 to 50% close ratio. I think if you're higher than that, you're probably not charging enough, and if you're lower than that, you're probably not humble enough. Everyone can get to 20%. And I'm going to go really conservative on the close too, $1,500 RMR. Really a small customer. A lot of the problems in our industry tie back to very smart people getting on stage and getting you to buy toolkits and subscriptions to things by telling you that every customer should be paying $350 a user. You shouldn't take a customer that's less than 5,000. And by doing so, they've eliminated 99% of all businesses in the United States. And they've basically taken your pond and turned it from the Atlantic Ocean into a little tiny, trout pond up in the mountains. So I'm going to use 1,500 because there's a ton of those out there. There's millions of businesses that will pay you $1,500. And so we're going to use that number. We're going to plug that into some different scenarios. So you see that first word? It's choose. That's what I mean by that abundance mindset. Some of us come in and we're like, you know what, Terry? I'm scared. I'm going to stick with what I'm feel super comfortable doing, and I'm going to run an assumption based on one lead a month. And it's cheap, right? A lead, $1,000, $1,500 a lead, something like that, depending on what you call a lead. That definition is all over the map, but qualified appointment. If you do that one lead per month kind of program, and you maintain that 20% close ratio, and you have a $1,500 average close, that means I'm going to bring in 0.2 closes a month and $300 RMR a month. That's what we're going to bring in. And we had programs like this. We went into some franchises, and all we could get them to do was what we called a quarter collar. And it sounded really good because it's a couple leads a month, 1 to 2, and everyone can afford it, so it was popular. We sold 1 billion of them. The problem is, you see that 0.2? What does that really mean? How often do you get a new client? Every 5 months, all right? What are the chances of in 5 months you still believe? What are the chances of in 5 months you're starting to not blame other people? Starting to get mad and frustrated and angry, maybe even yelling at the people that you've hired to come help you? Right? At the end of the day, most MSPs don't have an abundance mindset. They have this scarcity mindset. It's holding close. I've got to be super conservative. I can't take any chances. And that's what leads us down a path of getting a $1.4 million valuation on a 10-year horizon, starting off at $1 million. All the scenarios I'm going to talk about, go back to Joe, the average Joe that we talked about on day one. $1 million today. Most MSPs that come to our events and talk to us have around $1 million. Some of them obviously have nothing, and some of them have 50 million, but the average Joe managed service provider is that. So if you take this approach, the scarcity mindset, you run out of fear, you make your decisions out of fear, but you're still willing to do something, at least you have a future. 1.4 million is about $1 million after tax. You may have some debt you got to pay off. You might come home with somewhere between 500,000 and $1 million. And a lot of us, we'd probably spend that in about a month or two. But if you start getting a little more courageous, start making wiser decisions, start thinking big picture with more of an abundance mindset, all of a sudden a new line is drawn, the 2-lead line. See, the power of compounding RMR all of a sudden turns our 1.4 million valuation to 1.864 million valuation, because now we're getting 0.4 closes a month, or a close every 2.5 months at 600 RMR average. So all of a sudden now our 1-year horizon went from I do nothing, your business will not be worth much more. Most MSPs plateau at between 750 and 1.25, and they will be there for 30 years. Literally 30 years. They're too scared to do what it takes to achieve their dreams, so they just don't. Those $1 million MSPs are not worth anything. You might find a peer to buy it for nothing, maybe some sort of earn out, but no private equity, no venture capitalist. The 20's not going to come in with a big check. No one wants that business because it's you, it's the person. Without that person, there is no real business, is there? So I want to talk about a different scenario. I'm going to start talking about some courage. Now we're starting in that half-collar kind of mindset. So we went from 1.432 to 1.864 last round. This round, we're going to go to 10 leads a month. This is more than a full collar, maybe even more. Now in 10 years, our valuation is $5.32 million. All I did was change the courage line. on the top. Nothing else changed. I don't know about you. 5.32 million is going to put like 3.5-ish maybe in your bank account at the end of the day. Now you're starting to actually retire. FU money, at least on a small scale, you can start to choose your future. You're not Walmart working to get health insurance to greet, right? You're making decisions based on what you choose to do because you've started to make some decisions that are courageous early on. The problem, guys, is that that's a 10-year horizon. So you could all be there. Everyone in here could have a $5.3 million valuation as if when Marketopia launched, they had the courage to go. We're 9.5 years old at this point. Next year, we'll hit our 10-year anniversary. So we even have some customers in here that have been here from the beginning, and they're not here because they didn't make that decision, right? It took me 6.5 years to get to this valuation. From nothing. I'm not even technical. I've never built a computer in my life. All right, so I'm pretty courageous here. Now, this is a full caller, maybe two, maybe digital marketing and a full caller, but bottom line, we're doing what it takes to get 10 appointments. And remember, this appointment was an average close of 1,500. So our lead qualification criteria might be in that 5 and up kind of category, because you're going to get some whales, you're going to get some little guys, and they're going to average in that 1,500. You don't have to have a big RMR to make big money. You don't even have to have a big close ratio. You got Jeff Newton on your team, you can get like 5 leads a month and get here. It's pretty much guaranteed, right? Isn't that how it works? All right. Every time. He closes every lead 72% of the time. All right. Now, this is a heavy investment for an MSP. This is a heavy, courageous MSP. This is like $10,000, maybe $15,000 a month. But I want you to understand what that means. That's roughly the cost of 2 techs, maybe 1 really good one. And if you hire that tech, which so many of us do, we'll spend our money on a tech every freaking day of the week, right? Do you think that tech's going to make your business worth $5.32 million? No. Matter of fact, it'll make it less than what it is today, because you've got now a really expensive payroll and don't have the revenue to support it. I have another, not a leech, but you know what I mean, a dependent that I have to take care of them and their family, yet that's what we're able to do here. We're really good at overhiring techs, overpaying techs, having too many techs, having too many tools, too new of a laptop. We're quick to consider expenses investments and ignore investments altogether. Guys, a lead is how you increase the valuation of your business. It has nothing to do, in fact, it's the opposite of a high-end tech or a new laptop or some new tool that you're going to bundle and give away from your clients, to your clients. Now, let's just say all of a sudden I'm like, you know what, Terry? I have bigger dreams than that. 5.3 million, I want Terry Rossi kind of money. What does that look like? 20 leads a month. Now we're at $9.64 million valuation in 10 years because we're getting 4 closes a month. We're adding 6,000 RMR. Tracy Maxwell is there. She's in that $5,000 to $10,000 a month kind of close number with Marketopia, the one that was on the video that we showed yesterday. Wish she was here. She doesn't even get 20 leads, but she's pretty damn good at learning and studying sales methodology, and she just doesn't overthink it. She simplifies it down to just running the system. So she's adding somewhere in there. So she now has a fishing lodge in Alaska that she bought, and she's been with us 7 years. I mean, she's living kind of a cool life. Anyway, 9.64 million, now you're in Terry Rossi category. You can actually afford to have a bulldozer in your backyard to go dig up dirt like you dreamed of doing as a child, because you have all the money you need. You don't have FU money for sure. But what if you actually get even more courageous? So this is what vendors do. Guys, Kaseya, great firm. They bought Datto, another great firm. Did a Datto go into the market with a scarcity mindset? Did they go in fearful and just trying to do the better they can, or they freaking do everything they could to push the pedal as far as they could down the path? Guys, Datto was on a goal of 100 a month, not 10 or 20, and that's why they sold for, I don't even know what Datto sold for, but it was 6.2 billion. So their little graph's a little bit different. This is an MSP graph, right? We can draw the same for a vendor. So what does that look like? I get 30 leads a month, and now I'm at $14 million valuation in 10 years because I'm getting 6 closes a month and 9,000 RMR. This graph is designed to show you one thing and one thing only. Stop being so conservative with your dreams. Stop going into conferences and be willing to spend whatever it takes to get whatever tool or technology. Stop going to hire all the techs you need. Start hiring level 3 engineers for $100,000 when you could hire a level 1 for 40 and fulfill almost the same number of tickets. Start turning your perspective from that scarcity-afraid mindset into someone that prioritizes achieving their dreams every day as much as they do about taking care of their customers. Because that's why you're here. No one got into this business going, yeah, listen, what I'm hoping for is in 10 years to have a business that's worth nothing without me. I work my ass off every single day taking care of customers who don't appreciate me. My family's going to sacrifice. My employees are going to sacrifice. And I'm going to really work really hard so that one day I can shut the door and not see a damn thing for all the stress and trials that came in my life because of the decision that I made to start an MSP. That's why Andrea cried yesterday. She heard that gentleman right now talk about a 35-year commitment to this space. He deserves to have 14, 15, 20 million in his pocket. And I don't know, maybe he does, but it is what it is at this point. The reality is we're all going to be in Robert Benton's shoes one day. We're all going to be where Terry Rossi is. The question is, are we buying bulldozers to dig in our backyard because that's what we want to do? Or are we living in a trailer somewhere because of the scarcity mindset that we had in our lives? You've got to choose your scenario. What is it that you want to do? 40 leads a month gets you to $18.28 million valuation in 10 years. So if you're one of those people that's looking quarter by quarter, month by month, day by day, and saying, oh, I want to pause. Terry, I get these calls. Oh, I'm scared. I'm nervous. I want to focus over here for 3 months. Can you pause everything? I'm scared. And I appreciate it. You know, there's scary things in life. I agree with that. But if you're fearful about expenses because you don't make enough money, get rid of the techs that you shouldn't need because you don't have the work for them to do. Stop sacrificing yourself and your future so that you can keep a tech on that you really don't need. That person's probably a lot better off to go somewhere that he's needed and appreciated and can be pushed to grow than sit there wilting on the vine in your office because you don't have enough customers to even keep them busy. They're doing busy work. They're doing ticket clicking. 40 leads a month bring 8 closes a month and a 12,000 additional RMR a month and an $18.28 million valuation. Everyone in here can make these decisions. You're just going to decide which line you're on. Are you going to be on the one that's worth $1 million, which is doing nothing? Or are you going to use Marketopia or do it yourself? It doesn't really matter. The point is you got to get the top line number. That's a 40-line graph. That's a $19 million valuation. 18.2 to be exact. The key is to dream big, and I do mean big. Believe in yourself in a big way. Believe in the partners. Believe in your judgment. Believe in your ability to pivot over time. You talk to a vendor, if something's not working, you can pivot to something else, right? It's normal. You got to invest in your dreams. Stop expecting them to happen. We literally get more calls every day asking for more for without giving more than we do where people saying, listen, I want to double the growth rate. Can I double my expense? Which is completely a logical statement to make, right? You got to put your money where your dreams are if you want to achieve them. So to dream big, believe big, invest big, and achieve big. And that's what I want for you. And it's not just the decisions you make in Marketopia, it's going to affect every decision in your life. Are you going to invest in expenses or investments? Are you going to start doing what it takes to achieve your dreams or keep living in a fear scarcity mindset? Bottom line, if you want to grow your business and sell your business for a high valuation, you've got to grow your revenue. It's really what it comes down to. Your valuation changes drastically as your numbers change. Now, there's a number of people that made it to Arlen's session yesterday, and the number of people in peer groups who talked to me about this with me about this before. So I want to go through it a little bit for everybody. A couple terms: EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And then there's what's called adjusted EBITDA. A lot of us think we're kidding. Our businesses are more profitable than we are because we underpay ourselves. The first thing a valuation person does is creates an adjusted EBITDA. Say, you know what? Terry Rossi, your CPA has convinced you to pay yourself $50,000 a year and give the rest in dividends, which is wonderful. But if I buy you, I can't really do that, can I? I've got to go hire a Terry Rossi. Unless you built your business where you're actually not needed, your role isn't, If you're built your business where it's got to be you, because it's $1 million a year and they're all personal relationships, your business isn't worth much at all without you. If you build your business enough where your role is important, but you're not the only salesperson, you're not the only lead generator, you're not the lead tech, all of a sudden now you can get to what's called an adjusted EBITDA. And says, okay, Terry, you're a smart guy. I've got to replace you if you leave, and if I buy your business, chances are you're either physically or emotionally going to leave at some point, because I'm not going to do it as you want to do it, because I have bigger dreams, I have bigger goals. I'm buying you for $5 million because I want to sell you for $50 million, right? So I need to adjust my EBITDA. So if you pay yourself 50, I think you're worth at least 200. I'm then going to put the line in the EBITDA that you make 200 instead of 50. In other words, I'm going to deduct 150,000 from your EBITDA to get your true adjusted EBITDA. There's other things in there. Some people put cars in there, pay their kids through the business, do lots of things because their CPAs tell them it's wise in the short term without understanding the consequences and valuation in the long term, right? You can save like $4,000 in taxes and cut the value of your business by 150,000, right? If you're looking to sell in the next 3 years, you shouldn't be running it based on what your short-term tax consequences are. It should be on your valuation consequences. So that's what this is. You got to run your business for scale, not tax. I'm going to leave this up here for a while because I want everyone to understand what is happening right now in the market. A business that makes less than 500 EBITDA, I'm not going to raise hands, but it's going to be the lion's share of us, has a valuation between 2 and 4x. So if you're making 100 grand net EBITDA, your business is worth between 200 and 400,000 before tax. If your EBITDA is between 500,000 and $1 million, what we call a tuck-in, that multiple jumps to 3 to 6. As you can tell, that's a 50% increase in valuation. That's a huge jump. If you get to 1 to 2 million, can be a platform. In other words, a platform that you tuck other people into, but it's usually more of a strategic acquisition from someone who benefits more than the value of your business, and that gets you in the 7 to 10 times. If you're in the big boy range and you got a $2 million EBITDA, the typical platform buy for most investors looking to roll up MSPs, you can get 8 to 12 times EBITDA. And if you're a big boy, $5 million or more in EBITDA, and we have clients in that category. I don't think they're here, but I think we have people on the upper end of these numbers. You can get 10 to 20 times earnings. Right? You start getting to multiples of revenue. All right. A couple things I wanted to tell you. First, you're not going to make $1 million EBITDA on $1 million company. Newsflash, right? Going back to that chart, you've got to choose one of those top 3 or 4 trajectories. You're not going to get there at 1 or 2 appointments a month, probably not even 5, realistically. And you can't fall for the trap that you're going to basically cut all of your expenses and fire all your techs to raise your EBITDA temporarily, because the buyers are smart. No one has $10 million to give you that's dumb. It's really hard to be a dumb 10 millionaire, right? So they see that. They're like, wait a minute, you cut marketing. Wait, you cut sales. Wait, you cut all your techs. Wait a minute, now I got to make a real adjustment to my EBITDA because I got to add back the people that are needed to sustain your business. Another thing I want you to see is that I believe Marketopia will be a platform. I believe at some point in the next 5 or 10 years, it could be today, but it could be 10 years from now, someone's going to call me and say, can I buy all of them? Consistent product offering, consistent sales methodology, culturally linked, deep relationships. If you think about the Marketopia community, how freaking amazing would it be to someone to just come in and buy us all? And the cool thing is, if you do that, we're on the top 2 up there, probably number 1. So right now, individually, we're in the 2 to 4x. In 10 years from now, you get an email from me, I'm like, I have an opportunity for you. That'll be your subject line, right? It'll be a picture of Terry Rossi on his bulldozer. Because we're going to get 10 to 20 times our EBITDA. There are not many communities like that out there. There's a couple out there, and I don't want to point figures, but some of them are in this room that are trying to roll up MSPs to get those numbers. This is why. They're coming to you saying, I'll give you 2 to 4, maybe 5 times EBITDA, right? And they're going to do that to 20 different people to get the number up in that $5 to $10 million EBITDA range, because you see the number. It goes from 3 to 5 times EBITDA to 10 to 20. So that is all of a sudden instantly a 300% ROI. And they do that by making an acquisition every 2 weeks, 2 months, something, roll up enough. But what are they really doing? In this conversation, this conversation about abundance versus scarcity, is that they're capturing the EBITDA that you could be capturing. You could make this decision to do it yourself. All you got to do is get up there, get your EBITDA up above 500,000. All of a sudden, you've increased your EBITDA multiple by 50 or 50% on top of the actual dollar amount going up because your EBITDA went up. You know what I mean? So it compounds on itself. So if we could get everyone in here to get their EBITDA to $1 million, and we start aggregating it by 200 MSPs worldwide, representing almost every state, as well as multiple countries in Europe, and we go to someone like Verizon and say, listen, I know you've been playing around with companies that have a $5 million EBITDA, and that's really fun. We're at $50 million EBITDA, a global footprint on day one. That's what I think is going to happen. And we have VCs and private equity coming into Marketopia. And remember that little game as a kid where it was like the hippo, come in and get the marble, come in and get the marble? Someone's going to come in with a really big-headed marble, or a big-headed hippo, and try and get all the marbles. So that's what I think is going to happen to you. My challenge is, between now and then, we've got to drive these multiples up. We've got to drive the multiples up so that we get better valuation. You've got to make decisions to get your individual multiple up, so even if that doesn't happen, you're on your own still going to get 7 to 10 times EBITDA. Does this make sense? You will decide how you want the end game to be played. Are you going to dabble in your life and keep going and enjoy your lifestyle business and have an EBITDA of 100,000 a year, 200,000 a year, $500,000 a year, and enjoy that 2 to 4 times multiple at the end of the day, where you start actually having to ask yourself the question, like, okay, why am I selling this? If I work for 2 more years or 4 more years, I'll make the same amount, and I'll probably grow my business. So I'm in that quandary, right? Why am I really selling? But someone comes and offers you 20 times EBITDA, and you're 60 years old, that's not a very difficult decision, right? So I challenge you, every single person in here, to stop living by scarcity and fear and start living by the dream that you should have for yourself. Everyone in here deserves FU money at the end of the day. Everyone in here deserves to achieve their dreams. Everyone in here deserves to achieve their dreams. I just need you to stop thinking so small and short term. Start thinking long term. What does a customer bring to me? We go through the math with you guys all the time. Jeff and Brian and the team goes through these spreadsheets so you can stop the head trash, because Excel doesn't lie. It's just multiplication, division, subtraction, and addition, right? That's why we do that, is because all an MSP can think about is this month's P&L, this month's payroll, this month's cash flow. But I need you to think about 10 years from now's cash flow. And that's going to be based solely on what you do today. If you keep living in the moment, for the moment, and restricted by the moment, your future is exactly the same as it is today. I don't know how many MSPs I've talked to that have been in the business for 30-something years and have a business that has 1.28 million in revenue. That was my second year. Year two as an MSP. Year 3, I was at 2.8 million. I grew my MSP very quickly and invested my proceeds in 2 things. 1, building a platform of scalability. The people who bought my MSP, one of them, some people in here used to work there. It's hard to see with these lights. Yeah, there you go. He used to work at my MSP, and now he started his own, which is awesome. We built a strong foundation of processes, procedures, and controls. I had one of my ex-Ernst & Young buddies come in and document the hell out of my business, and I brought in a COO to help improve the foundation, because I'm not a very good operator. I'm more of a visionary in the EOS methodology. So they bought that because they knew that I could scale, and then they bought the hockey stick, Marketopia has been in the Inc. I've been in the Inc. 5000 10 times. 5 times as an MSP and 5 times at Marketopia. Marketopia peaked at 2,040% 3-year growth. That's not easy to do. It's a lot easier at Marketopia than my MSP because I had money from my MSP to create Marketopia, right? But they bought that growth rate and they bought that foundation. So those two things have to occur. So one of the benefits of having money and having revenue and having hope and confidence in the future is that you'll make investments in operational people that are really good at making sure that the wheels don't fall off the bus. If you wait for that person and that ability to scale before you start to grow, you won't have the money to do it. You'll find yourself in a perpetual state of procrastination. Oh, I can't really, I'm gonna go all in on training right now while I go behind the scenes and get my processes documented. And then I'm going to come back, and that is years because you have no money. You have no money. You got to make the money to buy the people to get your business ready to grow, right? It all is tied together. And I started my business. My MSP had $24,500 in capital. That's it. I'm not technical. I didn't know how to add a user to a domain or build a computer. I've never even racked a server. So I started with $24,000. I had a burn rate of 90 days on my first day. I had to hire people because I couldn't do any of the work. So I didn't have a scarcity mindset. I was willing to go. I believed in myself. And I went. And I outsold my ability to service. I did not accept new customers more months than I accepted new customers for my first 2 years of operations. So when you hear the stories of like, how do you go from 466 to 1.8 to 2.8 in the first 2 years? 466 year one, 1.42, and then 1.8 something, I don't know, maybe the X Infinity people can hold me on those numbers. It wasn't by being scared. I didn't accept more customers more times than I accepted them. I couldn't, because I had to get the money to hire the people, and that's how you grow. You have that confident mindset about the future, you start making investments and you go out there and pay for it. Stop living in fear. If you want to grow faster, get twice as many leads. It's really not that freaking complicated. We make it complicated. We make it because all the head trash, but it's like, if I was talking to someone last night about Roger Clemens, and I said, okay, if they went out there and you had to bet everything on your ability to hit a Roger Clemens fastball and you got one pitch, what are the chances of you hitting it? And the answer is 0, right? There probably is someone in here that's a baseball player. Now, if I gave you 3 pitches, would you hit it? Probably not. But if I gave you 10 or 20 or 30, not only would you be able to hit way more because they're right after each other, because one of the problems with one lead a month is that it's 30 days till the next lead. So you got the bat, and you had 30 days to regress back into your old habits, and then you swung again. So the more often you swing, the more chances there are of hitting each pitch, but you do it month over month and a month, and all of a sudden you'll find yourself hitting it half the time. Now, it is not going to be easy. The picture of someone rolling a rock uphill is true. I will tell you, it's effing hard to get an appointment for you. I've got 100 people busting their hump every single day to bring in appointments. It's effing hard. My MSP, I had a 5-person marketing team. There was no Marketopia. I look at some of the things that we charge right now, and I'm like, people complain, I'm like, do you have any idea what this costs me? To send the same campaigns out now that we do in the Done With You plan for $800 a month, I had 3 employees that all made like $5,000 a month. You know what I mean? So I'm spending $15,000 a month for what we sell for $799 a month. But it's also not going to be easy if you're a customer. Not only do we have the head trash that I've been hitting on so hard the last couple of days, but also you're going to have to figure out over time, and the pace of figuring it out will depend on you, which is that you probably don't know how to close a real lead. You probably only know how to close your uncle's best friend or your best customer's referral. You're going to have to learn how to close someone who doesn't know you from Adam. They're naturally skeptical, their walls are up, and they don't even know if they want you in their office. That's where you start with a marketing lead. I have a need, but I don't know you. We have customers who struggle to get the first on-site appointment, and they don't understand why. And they blame it on the lead. I'm like, think about it, dude. What do you represent to them? You represent risk. Risk that they've not been doing their job, they're going to be found out and they're going to be fired. Risk that you're actually a bad guy, a hacker that's going to install something on their network because that's what we love to do. Get the domain administration credentials on day 0. Oh, I can come by there. Just give me the keys to the kingdom and step away for a couple hours and then come back. If they don't know you, Think about that. You've got to earn it. So what are the keys to success? How do you determine the difference between someone who's going to achieve their dreams and someone who's just going to sit there and dream about them? Number one, strategy. It's a huge part of success. Achievers trust recommendations given to them and leverage them to grow personally, professionally, in their business. They follow a path to success. Methodology. This is a big one. And in the coming year, all new clients that are coming on, they're going to be a part of a new thing. The quarterly on-sites are now going to be called springboards, because our goal is to literally accelerate the pace of running at each quarterly on-site. So new clients will start off with a full day of sales training. Existing customers are welcome to come, but obviously they don't have to. And the reason is because what we found is that the online training is great, and some people soak it up. You know, you got E3 over here, who's like literally could recite the training that has been given to him over the years. And then you have some people who are like, yeah, I watched it, over a bottle of wine. I don't really remember it, And you're like, no, but we follow the methodology. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, tell me about it. Like, how did it go? Tell me about the first meeting. Well, they told me it was their current company is paying $40 a month, and I told them there was no way we could do that. You didn't watch that training, did you? You got to follow the methodology. We're going to teach you how to do it. We're not perfect. I'm sure we could be better, but that methodology has closed hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in RMR. It's probably the most widely taught methodology, because I used to do this on stage for 2,000 MSPs a month for 8 years. Before COVID, I did this at conferences, right? That's how I met a lot of you guys. So we're going to teach you how to close a word-of-mouth lead. Relationships matter. You should be really proud of yourself for being here, because these are like-minded people. If you go to the average MSP show, the ones that come to your hometown and set up in the Hampton and get in there and talk to you, all of those MSPs are the ones in that plateau of 750 to 1.2 million. They're dreamers, right? Their idea of marketing investment is $300 a month, or buying a toolkit that they're not actually deploy. Building relationships and being involved and surrounded by like-minded people that want to grow is going to do a number of things. First of all, you're going to understand that there's another way of thinking, because you're going to be around people that came on this stage and had the courage to do things. You're going to find people who can help you grow your business, because there's great personal relationships. One thing about this community is people care about each other. It's a go-giver mentality. Arlen Sorensen comes every year for a reason, and that is because I love that guy and I love everything he stands for, and I dream about creating a culture just like the one that he espouses to have and has worked his entire life to build, helping each other, right? Build partnerships with people, companies, vendors that give you technologies to sell, that help you drive change and innovation and efficiency within your business, drive profitability. These are the vendors that are here. You notice there's a lot of vendors you've never even heard of, and that's by design. There's a lot of vendors out there who just care about their product. Sell my product, sell my product, sell my product. Don't charge for it. Whereas we're like, we want vendors that actually give a crap about your profitability and making a living selling their product and using their product. Community. I love Growcon. I love the on-site peer groups. I love the virtual peer groups, because you're collaborating with people that are driven to achieve the same thing you're driven to. And I think one day, I talked about this earlier, I think one day we'll all be working together. I think two things will happen. One, we might be working together, and two, I hope to retire together. Sean Moreno, which I can't see him, but he bought a condo on the beach, and when that happened, I'm like, wait a minute, that's like a beachhead. I could totally see us all selling one day for 10 times EBITDA, 20 times EBITDA. We all get 10, 20, $30 million, buy a beach condo somewhere, and literally we're gonna have peer groups on our patio watching the sunset, drinking a glass of bourbon, really good bourbon. Community matters, people matter, friendships matter, relationships matter. We're all gonna go through dark times. We're gonna have times we're afraid. We're gonna lose our best client. We're gonna get a client we didn't think we could handle. We have customers who turn down leads because they're too big every effing day, not every day, every quarter. We have literally people who are like, I can't handle that. I'm like, what? Like, that is not in my mentality. When I got Tech Data, I was at Tech Data's MSP. I'm not afraid. There's nothing I can't handle. If my biggest problem in life is how quickly can I hire people, that's a great problem to have. Someone gave me, my first check, the first day was a $2,888 recurring 3-year contract. That was my first managed service deal. I didn't even have an employee. So was I afraid? No. You can't be afraid. Why are you afraid of what might happen if you're successful? Like, that's dumb. So you got to be in these communities where you help each other, build those relationships. Go visit them, come visit them. It's important. Next section, mindset. You got to have a student mentality. I'm telling you, it's not easy. Even if you sign a big-ass check from me and getting the lead, that top line is easy, you still have to close them. You still have to run a business that's functional. You still have to retain the clients. And you still have to retain your sanity in your marriage. It's important to have a student mentality because we all have a lot to learn, right? Don't think you know everything. Come in with a humble, eager mindset. Learn who those that have been successful before you. Have a student mentality, and you will become better every day. Just 1% better every day, and there's nothing you can't achieve. Next thing is courage. People that achieve big things do big things. They make big investments, right? When I'll never forget my first day at Ernst & Young. So I have an undergrad degree from the University of Florida and an MBA. That's why you can show I don't discriminate against people less educated than me because I had David Powell on stage yesterday. You know what I mean? Ernst & Young came to the University of Florida. And you're talking to a kid who grew up on a horse farm. Okay, I'm just a redneck from a little town called Brooksville. We had horses, goats, pigs, just a poor, kid. Had a crazy mom who had borderline personality disorder, had a struggle. You heard about that on day one. Ernst & Young called the University of Florida and said, I want the top 2 students in the entire College of Business at the University of Florida. And I just went riding on golf carts with the other one. Ernst & Young picked me and this other guy. They showed up my first day on site. A 50-year-old man, Bell South, said, I'm 52 years old. I've been doing my job for 22 years. What makes you think you can teach me how to do it better? This is like my first week on the job. I'm not afraid of that question. Neither should you. There's no challenge you can't overcome. The reality is, one thing about us is we're willing to work. Everyone in this room has probably had an all-nighter or 2, either building a proposal or racking a server and building a network, right? We're courageous people. We're willing to do whatever it takes when things happen. But we struggle in the front end of our business. We'll take a chance on a tech. We'll take a chance on getting a customer that might be out of our comfort zone. But when it comes to actually growing our business, we don't really have that courage because we want things called guarantees. And that's just not how life works. When I went to the University of Florida for an MBA program, no one said, I guarantee you're going to get a job for $100,000 a year. In fact, I started my MSP when I was in the program. The starting point for my MSP was a case study at the University of Florida. And now case studies are written about my MSP and Marketopia, and they're taught at the University of North Carolina and a lot of other places. You got to have the courage to take opportunity, to create opportunities for yourself and regardless of risks. Accountability. You can't blame other people for your failures. It's one thing I've seen more and more often where people blame other people for their failures. They struggle to take accountability, personal accountability. I will tell you this, as soon as you're talking to someone who's interested in talking to you, it's on you. You've got to accept that. One thing I really admire about Jeff's methodology, he's an engineer. He's not a professional sales guy. He's an engineer, but he took an engineer's mind to the sales process and understood that there's mental journeys that people have to take to get there, and he guides them on that. He's going to, for those of you who want to go into his peer group, he'll be running a peer group here at 1 o'clock. But you've got to own that process. You've got to close the deal. It's incredibly important to do that. We'll teach you how, but at the end of the day, it's about accountability, because as soon as you start blaming other people for your problems, you stop trying. Right? It's that person's fault. It's not mine. What I want you to do is look in the mirror and go, why did I win that deal? Was my price too low? Why did I win? Did I win for the right reasons? Which is that I created a value proposition and communicated it so effectively that they perceived me as being worth what I'm worth to make a handsome profit on the back end. I won a very profitable engagement with a long-term potential, and I started this relationship off on the right track. Or why did I lose? Why didn't I get the next appointment? What did I say or not say, do or not do? No one's going to give you an hour of their life unless there's an opportunity. The question is, are you going to capitalize on it? You have that student mentality, you have that personal accountability for failure, you will get better every day. You'll rehearse with your spouse, you'll rehearse with a mirror, you'll think about why you won, you'll think about why you lost, and strive to get better every single day. You've got to win. This looks an awful lot like Duke. the dog on Marketopia's website. You'll see him at the office tomorrow. Patience. It takes time. One thing, the reason I went through that dash earlier on day one was the number of years that happened. These people added 1.7 million, 1 million, 700,000 valuation every year, but it wasn't smooth. It didn't start off that way. Almost every Marketopia client has to go through a journey, this journey of self-reflection and humility, and fail 40 times until it clicks. And you'll hear stories of that in here. When did it click for you? And it's usually something that was said or some meeting that happened, or we do a lot of accountability. I'm known for tough love, and it sucks to get it sometimes, but it helps people at the end of the day. You gotta have patience. You gotta understand that things take time. You didn't get where you are in a day, you're not gonna get where you wanna go in a day. It's gonna take months or years, and the pace is based on you. If you end up sucking at sales, fire yourself and hire a salesperson. You can get leads, that's easy. It's just about courage. How many do you want? Are you courageous enough to get 10 a month? Or are you courageous enough to get 20 a month? Those are just decisions that you make. But you gotta have patience in knowing that good things take time. You gotta be committed. You gotta be committed to yourself and your dream. You gotta be committed to your family and the potential that you have as a person, as an executive, and the business that you've created. One thing that's beautiful about our industry is there's people that will prove to you that anything's possible. There are MSPs in the Marketopia community that are worth 35 million, 50 million, 100 million. And there are some that are worth 350,000, maybe even $350. Heck, there's some of you in here that I could have bought your MSP for $3.50 at certain times. Anything's possible. You know that because you just look at your peers. Everything's possible. The question is, are you going to be in your way, or are you going to be the reason that you do that? You've got to be as committed to your success as you are to your client's success. It takes time. Tenacity. It isn't going to be easy. You've got to be tenacious in everything you do. Do not give up. Do not stop working. The pursuit of your dreams should be the ultimate reason to justify getting up every day and going after the grind. You've got to be willing to fix what's not working, whether it's in lead generation, marketing, sales, service, accounting, whatever. You can never stop the grind. You've got to be willing to do whatever it takes. Growth is a choice. I want you to stop dreaming, start achieving. Silence the haters in your life, whether they're sitting next to you on the phone or just inside between your two ears. Silence the haters, silence the head trash. Be courageous, be bold. Do whatever it takes to achieve your dreams, because that's what you deserve. Everyone in here deserves to achieve their dreams. There's nothing you can't do. If you set your mind to it, you make wise decisions, your future can either become where you are today or the actual dream you have for your life. Make the right decisions, get your life on the right trajectory. There's nothing you can't accomplish. Thank you very much. All right. Okay. We're going to go ahead and bring up the panel. Lessons from the trenches, learning from those who have sold. So a lot of us have the dream of retiring one day and selling our business. So we've got the lovely, the talented, the potentially was a supermodel at some point in his life. Some people are even wearing shirts with his head on it. Tim Conkle is going to come facilitate a panel, and you're going to ask the questions. All right, he's micing up here. Any questions about what I just talked about? That's kind of a big presentation from a load perspective. A lot of minds churning, smoke coming out of smears. Any questions about any of that? Does anybody doubt themselves? Stop. If you know what you're doubting yourself about, you know enough to stop it. You could one day grow up and be as beautiful, as talented as Tim Conkle. Thank you, buddy.
Lucky.
Yeah, man.
I will say this. That's probably one of the best sessions I've ever seen. And I've been to a lot of these things. True story. True story. Everything he said in there is 100%. You know, it just takes doing it. It's crazy, and it drives you nuts
It does.
when you see people not do it, doesn't it?
It does.
You're like,
Every day, man, I'll see people that will call me and they're like, "Can we put a pause?" I'm like, "No, I'm not going to pause." You know what? What I hear when people say things like that is, you know what, Tim? My dreams are so unimportant to me that I want to push them off 3 months. You know,
No,
I'm so scared about
freaking
today
nuts.
that I want tomorrow to be a lot worse than it could be. You know,
it's always money first. I can't afford marketing, right? That's the first thing the hurdle I think they have to get over is, where do I get the money? It's a bedrock foundation of building a business. You shouldn't have a business if you don't trust your own ability to spend money and market. If you don't market, you're not growing. With no PE firm, I didn't sell the company. I didn't have to give away equity to people that I didn't want to. You just got to want to do it. And so that spoke to me. Everything in that spoke to me. So, yeah, it was good.
For those of you guys who don't know Tim, Tim is a kind of a legend in the community. He's built vendors, he's built MSPs, he's now running the 20, which is making a lot of acquisitions, a lot of noise in the market.
Yeah.
He's a pretty impressive guy. He's got a lot to offer, and he's going to bring on a few different people who sold their business.
Yeah, where's my panel? I mean, do I have a panel?
Yeah, you got to bring them up. Next slide.
Oh, shit.
Now you have a panel.
Okay, I'm up here. Now I have to bring other people up here with
Yes, sir.
a clicker.
Yes, sir. If you click it, they will come.
Terry Heeden.
I'm here.
All right. Terry Rossi, come on down. I feel like Price is right now. I'm fixing to pick somebody with a big wig and like a duck butt or something. I wasn't talking about you, Terry.
Yes, buddy.
Robert Benton. All right. You notice nobody wants to clap for y'all.
No.
I was told this was a community. Oh,
All right, you're in it.
that's it. Oh,
You keep
I've
that
got a
last
chair.
one up. Now you get a chair and you get to talk.
Okay, lessons from the trenches. So I'm assuming all these guys have sold, right? So real quick, just when did you sell and why did you sell?
I sold August of 2021, and it was really time, not to get too sappy, but I was married for 18 years to an amazing woman with, in 04, was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, and she was my CFO. And December of 20, she was ready. So, okay, that's it. It's time.
It's incredible. Don't make me cry up here. I'm telling you
Yeah,
right now.
man,
Do
you
not
know,
make
Andrew,
me-
where are you?
Yeah.
Do not make me cry in front of all these people. Terry.
Yeah, so I sold at pretty much the same time, August of 21. And the reasoning for me, I'm 27 years into it. I think you were 30-some. And I had a business partner, and he was a little older than me, and it was the relationship was starting to fade out. So I had a choice, either kind of buy him out or, sell the company. So 3 years prior to 21, I started planning that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
My story, I wasn't for sale. It wasn't a conscious decision like these guys. I had gone through a divorce and gone through a dark chapter, and was doing a lot more speaking. Channel Pro magazine, Joel put me on the cover of Channel Pro, and that led to a speaking career, which led to me speaking at the largest copier convention in the United States, which led to multiple copier companies getting into a bidding war to buy my MSP. I had a choice at the end of the day between private equity and the largest privately held copier equipment dealer in the United States, and I sold to the copier equipment dealer. So I sold about 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago now, and retired for a few minutes before starting Marketopia on a piece of paper in my den, and it's been a wild ride since then. So,
Would you do it again?
sell?
If you went back, would you make the same decision?
I don't think there's any question that from a professional perspective, I've had a really cool career. I'm proud of what I've accomplished, but I think selling your business is like the entrepreneur's ultimate dream. Whether it's to your employees, your children, private equity, VCs, to Terry Rossi, who now has more money than all of us.
Bullshit.
bullshit. The reality, I think, is it's an achievement of a dream. Now, do I think that my MSP would now be $150 million a year? Absolutely. That was easy. I could grow. I grew 50% a year on average, right? So I just do that math. I don't know what the number would actually be, but it would be something pretty substantial. So there are days when I kind of reflect on that, but running MSP is hard. You know, it's a lot easier now. I think it's never been easier to run an MSP. But back then, I think it was really effing hard, like Exchange. Microsoft Exchange, I don't know how many sleepless nights that freaking product created, but now with the cloud, with so many great partners to help you with operations like the 20, or to help you with sales and marketing like Marketopia, there's just way more support out there where you can write a check and have your problems go away. And so I think right now it's probably the best time it's ever been to be an MSP.
Yeah. And I think you're right. All the pieces are there. People are scared to take them. They really are. Or they're scared to make a mistake. Trust me. I've made more mistakes than I've made right decisions. By far. But I would imagine a lot of people would sit in my chair if I offered it to them. I'm just saying, right? You have to make mistakes. You have to fail. You have to stub your toe. You have to do all that stuff. So how many people in this room want to sell? Two types of people that are MSPs in my estimation. People that want to sell that know that there's a value proposition to pop and do. And the other side of the coin, oh, I want to do this forever. Bullshit. If I offered you, how many people in the room would sell their company if I offered you $100 million right now? You want to sell your company. The problem is you don't want to do the work to get there. Let's just lay it out there real quick. So I want to talk about three things because I think everything, anytime you're in front of a room, you should bring value because we consume an hour of your time. If you times it by the people in the room, we are consuming a lot of a resource that you can never get back. So for one, I commend you for being here. I appreciate it. And I promise that by the time we're all done, you'll be better off than when you started. So we're going to give you something back for this hour of your time. So thanks for giving us that time. But I've always said there's only three pieces to building any company. I don't care what it is. Only three. Now these gentlemen have done it. So we're going to talk about the three things. The first thing is you have to lead gen. You have to market. So each of you talk a little bit about the battle, because marketing is a son of a bitch, because sometimes it doesn't give you what it wants or what you want, and you think it's broke, and you're right, you blame everybody else. But talk a little bit about how you marketed to get where you were when you sold your company.
Yeah, so, I had a 35-year journey on this, and the first 30 years was all word of mouth. It was every bit of knocking on doors. When I first started the company, my marketing was literally knocking on doors because I knew no one in a little town called Murfreesboro, Tennessee that I had moved to. So I started knocking on doors, and I joined BNI, and then I joined Robin Robbins, and then I joined HTG, and then I joined Terry, and it just catapulted from there. So, but my story is literally from nothing. $500 in my pocket and a Phillips head screwdriver because I knew I could take the PC apart with a Phillips head screwdriver.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Crazy story. Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I preached a message there in a church one time. How random is that?
I could see that.
Terry.
Yeah, so I started, my marketing journey's been all over the board, as most people have. I remember this guy from Texas years ago taught me how to use Google AdWords.
Oh, shit.
This guy right over here. But yeah, started with that. That used to be real easy to get clicks and you could get leads and engagements. Then we started working with Marketopia, I think in 2017, and they were a big part of it, our success. They did digital marketing, we did digital marketing, they did all the calling for us. We had a caller, an outbound caller that telemarketed for us for over 10 years. 100 calls a day, every day, listening to no, listening to no, listening to no. But, when he retired, I didn't want to go down the road of hiring somebody that was going to stay for a month, stay for 2 months. So we got Marketopia on board, and they were with us to the end. Huge part of the success. Unlike probably Bob here, I never sold in my company. I hired a salesman on day one, an inside sales guy to do cold calling and an outside sales guy to close. I don't think that's necessarily the way to do it. I'm a relationship builder, though. I go out and canvas. Those guys would close the deals. But that was kind of our journey.
Wow. You were the owner and you were canvassing.
Well, I was in the bar.
No, I
Candace,
get it.
you know what I'm
No,
saying?
dude, that's incredible. You believed in what you were doing. Terry, we know what you did, but tell us anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was no Marketopia, obviously, so I built it from scratch internally. I hired a content writer, I hired a designer, I hired a marketing automation person, I hired a outbound marketing staff, and then I hired someone to manage the team. So I had a 5-person marketing department. My payroll for that was probably $350,000 a year, something like that. And I literally just did it. And that was, I didn't have to do it at the beginning. I could do it enough myself at the beginning. But once you start getting that denominator big and trying to maintain a 50% annual growth rate, you needed a lot of horsepower. Yeah. So that's how I did it.
And you have to keep doing it, right? You have to keep stretching marketing. It can't be one thing, right? It can't just be Google AdWords. I did it for a long time, still do it to this day, but it can't be the only thing. And I'm just going to throw this out there. If Marketopia's got dollars in the room at all, they're freaking unicorns. How many people in here have had dollars before and finding one that can actually do it? Once you do, I mean, I'm telling you, they're unicorns. Now, think in terms of training them and all the other stuff. I don't know how to train a dollar. So I think Marketopia is a really, really cool dynamic that puts things in front of you that if you can do. Now, the second thing you have to do is if you can lead gen, if you can market, if somebody rings your phone and you answer it and they're qualified, second thing you have to do is sell them. It's important. Sales is important. So talk about how you went through the sales piece. Did you have a sales guy? Did you not have a sales piece? How did you know when you should have hired one? All those things that go with it from a sales perspective, because the reality is it's one leg of the stool, and if one leg of the stool is broke, they're all broke.
Yeah, so one thing about everyone sitting in this room is we're at different junctions of our business, whether you're $300 a month or you're $300 million a month, it doesn't matter. But when you're on that journey, you're going to fail at different parts of sales. You're going to fail at different parts of marketing. I hired a marketing person. I hired a lead gen company. I tried to do it myself. I tried to create my own marketing material. And it really, once I got through all those different mistakes, I learned that I couldn't do it. Why do our clients hire MSPs to do IT? Well, because they want to outsource it, because they can't do it that well themselves. Marketopia was my same idea. I had gotten through all these different journeys to the point where I was ready to outsource it because I made that realization. So all I had to do was sell, and one of the things that I think really sparked an interest in Terry was when I said it took me 41 appointments to make my first sale. So 3 months of Marketopia. It was something like, almost $40,000 investment before I made my first sale. That was because every customer that I got in front of was a word-of-mouth customer. It was sold before I ever walked in the door. One of my appointments actually was expecting my caller to show up. He goes, "You're not wearing a skirt and a low-cut dress." I was like, "What?" "Well, why are you wearing a gold chain and your hairy chest out to make this appointment?" And I walked out the door. But that was no fault of my lead gen. That's the kind of attitude that you're walking into. You better learn to sell to those people. And it took me 41 appointments to actually learn that. But once I figured that out, once I adjusted my sales tactic, I started closing and I started hitting. And all I needed was leads to be able to make that happen.
Yeah, there's a big difference between walking in and getting a paper signed and walking in and actually having a sale, right?
Absolutely.
Big difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one of the points that Bob just kind of touched on is, or Terry actually did in his talk too, tenacity. This is not a walk in the door, they hand you the admin keys and you walk out with a contract. This is a build the relationship type business. Our caller, the one we had for 10 years, we would go on appointments and we use ConnectWise. They have the activity function. You can say, closed and new follow-up. We would have notes from 5 or 6 years of calls to the same prospect before we got a first appointment. But when we got in there, they already had a relationship with our caller. They had a relationship with our company. They felt comfortable with us. It was, it's a right time kind of sale too. Sometimes you're a right fit for a company, but it's not the right time. I think tenacity is a real key to success in this business. That and good record keeping. I didn't do sales, so I had to keep to keep tabs on my sales guys to make sure they were doing activities, they were making the calls, they were going out on appointments, they were networking, doing that stuff. Even if you're doing it yourself, keep yourself accountable.
I've always said there's no such thing as a no in a sales call.
100%.
Everything is a timing issue. So if you're not there at the time, in other words, if you go on that call and then you forget about that potential client, trust me, they are going to close. Someone's going to do their IT, but if you don't stay in the game, it's not going to be you. That's wild. 6 years, and that's true. That's true stuff.
Yeah, and you want to be top of mind when that time comes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Tim, mind if I
Go
say,
ahead.
out of those 41 appointments, never did I call up Terry and say, why are you screwing up my appointments? Every single appointment, I went back to the office and I said, how can I improve this? And I actually called some of those prospects back. Why didn't I win this appointment? Well, you didn't come in and sell me. You did not differentiate yourself between the guy who did. You know, you need to do this. And so I'm actually getting advice from business owners that I didn't sell to, telling me how to adjust my sales process.
Dude, you're my spirit animal.
Yeah, that's a student mentality
Shit.
right there.
If you needed
I
a
am
spirit
tenacious
animal
of
before you
anything.
started, right there he is. He's like, I'd call him back and be like, why didn't you sign with me? I mean, obviously
That's
I was the
humbling.
best.
Yeah.
You know.
Great. I mean, you know, you sit there and you call an owner of a $20 million a year company and you ask for 15 minutes of his time, he's going to understand you. He's going to appreciate what you're trying to do, and he's going to give you honest feedback.
He will, if you ask. Most people don't ask. Most people get the no, and that's like the end. And then it has to go back through marketing. You drip, 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 and maybe not even drip. Sometimes you just, the wish method. I wish they'd come back around when they're ready. You know.
Yeah. Sales, I mean, you know, I was a principal-led sales at the beginning. No question about that. I learned that's where the methodology came from. So people had this, you heard about the sales jetpack and Marketopia's proposal template and all that. That was 12 years of blood, sweat, and tears where I refined the process, refined the contract and templates and all that. So anyway, I started off as principal-led sales, and then I didn't hire a salesperson until I was ready to geographically expand because I wanted to dominate the Southeast. That was my dream. So in 6.5 years, we kind of got a good chunk of Georgia and most of Florida under coverage. Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Sarasota, Tampa, Atlanta, and we were trying to march from there. And that's when I had to really document things and had to kind of figure out okay, so what exactly am I doing? And that's where that methodology that we talked about.
And I think you saw magic come out. You're either a salesman-led. I'm more of a salesman than I am a tech. Terry's more of a sales guy than he is a tech. You can tell by just listening to him for a few minutes. You were hiring salespeople. You were more of, I've got to sell. I was talking to Terry the other last night or tonight. I don't know when it was, but I was talking to him. And I was talking about sales. Every salesman should have a quota. So if you're the owner and you decide I'm going to sell for my company, you should have a quota. If you don't hit 80% of that quota, you should fire yourself. If you're a tech, and Terry hit this. This was magic in the last session if you listened. Why would you ever hire a tech first? Because let's be honest, what are you going to do if you had a tech and didn't have anything to do? You're going to sit on your ass. I mean, let's be honest. It's not built into people to go canvas. And if you don't have it, but you have to have some metric that tells you, okay, this sales guy can't stay here. For me, that's an 80% quota. If you don't hit 80% of quota, you can't sell for me, period. End of story. It's not me wanting to get rid of you. It's not me mad at you. I don't hate you as a person, but in business, you can't work for me. But I had a guy in the group, in the 20, that he was telling me that he could do $30,000 a year in MRR. Well, my quote is $60,000 MRR for a new sales guy, $720,000 a year. And so he goes, yeah, I can only do 30 because 50% of my time is taken up with other things. And I'm like, so why don't you hire somebody to do the other shit? He goes, well, he had every excuse in the world, but it doesn't take a genius to figure out if a real salesman got in there, he could pick up the other 30, that's $360,000 a year. By far pays for him. And so you have to be strategic about how you do things, and you have to be honest. I always tell people, if you want to know exactly why your company's where it is, there's only one tool you need, a mirror.
Hey, Tim, can I add one other thing
Yeah.
too? In Terry's graph where it's talking about the trajectory of growth, You know, if you're $1 million company, you're getting 1 lead a month. That ain't enough practice, guys. You got to get out there and get in front of people. You're never going to learn how to close a deal if you're doing 1 a month. So either get into peer group and role play sales, or get out in front of customers more. It's just not enough practice.
Yeah. Spend the money. I mean, that's how you grow. Third leg of the stool. So now we've lead gen, we've marketed, we've got all these people that are interested in, we've went out, we've closed deal. The third thing you have to do is scale. You have to service delivery, or your attrition does this, right? Nobody buys you if your customers don't stay with you, nobody buys you. You have no value. It's one of the markers. EBITDA, growth rate, attrition, all of those things are super important, especially if you're going to push to the top of those multiples, right? But the third is you got to be able to scale your company. So kind of explain how you scaled the company as you went from here to here to here to here, because obviously you have to, in fact, I'd asked you, I think you had 15 people, you know, so somewhere in there you have to scale. What'd that look like and how'd you do it?
Sheer luck. I really had some amazing people in my life. You know, I had multiple Terrys through my life. Michelle is helping me currently scale my personal life, right? You surround yourself with good people and get out of their way. The one person that allowed me to scale the last few years is a young gentleman by the name of William Moynihan. He was my COO, hired him as a level 1 tech to monitor my datos. And within probably the first 3 months, he went from taking an 8-hour job down to a 1-hour job. And I was like, all right, so let's see what else you can do. And he just took it and was like, we need to do this, because he had a scale mindset. You know, I wanted to scale, but I didn't have the education. I didn't have the understanding to do it. But what I did have was a sit back and listen to what your people are saying. And when your people are saying get out of your own way, then you get out of your own way. And you let the people that you hired to do it do their job. I would always try to get back into service because I love being a tech. I love understanding why the Microsoft 365 system was down that day. I love understanding why this migration isn't going well. And he would literally tell me, stay out of service or become the service manager. But I need you out there selling. I need you out doing other things. And so once I got out of his way, he helped me scale that company. And then just the people like Terry, like when I joined BNI, the people who took me under their wing, you know, quit thinking how many PCs can you work on and start thinking about how many PCs can your employees work on. How many marketing leads can Terry get you, not how many can you sell, right? So.
Great point. Probably the biggest changes in my company itself is when I got off an island. You've got to have the people around you. Think about it. If you really want to build a business and sell it, you got 3 guys here with a recipe that would probably tell you exactly what to do. It's crazy. Terry, how'd you scale?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm a little bit like Terry. I wasn't a poor farm boy, but I wasn't the best student when I was in school. Randy Carbone over here from E3 went to high school with me, and he can tell you that I got thrown out when I was a junior because I failed every class when I was a sophomore. I was a DJ. I worked till 3 in the morning, so getting up for school was not really my thing. So one of the things I did when I started the company,
That's awesome, man. You literally flunked out of high school.
Flunked out of, well, I went
didn't
to
know that
public
was
school.
possible.
I flunked out of a Catholic school.
Oh, okay. But now you own a bulldozer.
I thought that was illegal to flunk out of high school.
And just for clarification, our company was close to 10 million. We sold for close to 10 multiple. So, I did pretty good for myself. The thing I did, though, I always surrounded myself with coaches, always. Whether it was a sales coach or service coach, I always worked with people that were smarter than me. And I made investments, not expenses, to grow the business. And then I built a team. That was the second biggest thing I did to scale. The day I hired a service manager was the day my life got much better because I wasn't up all night. I wasn't yelling at the techs. I wasn't, dealing with problems I didn't want to deal with. Then again, sales side, finance, all the groups, all the major groups. And like I said, prepared for the sale too. I hired coaches for that too. I don't know if you know the Vern Harnish book, Scaling Up, but there was a few people in that. Greg Crabtree, he was the accounting guy that wrote the finance chapters. John Ratliff was the case study in there. He grew Green Tree answering service, did like 40 acquisitions, then sold it for a 14 multiple in an industry that sells for a 2 multiple. Those 2 guys were the 2 guys that worked with me on my sale. They came through the sale with me, and they were part of my investment banking team that helped me get the multiple that I got. So the way we scale was hire people smarter than me to run
Smart move. Smart move. Right people, right seats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. How many people in here have flunked out of high school? I'm just curious. My dad went to 8th grade. That's as far as he went. But I mean, you're talking about one of the smartest people by far smarter than me. Trust me. Terry.
I think what Terry said, I think, is a lot of ring truth to it. Surround yourself with people better than you and where you struggle. And my problem, frankly, I still have it. I'm not very good in the weeds, in the details. I like can't. I don't know why. I just can't even do it. I need people who are good at that. I mentioned that I wasn't the best operator. Still not. I happen to have an amazing wife that you guys have seen a lot on stage here this week. That is just better with people and better with helping bring people up and train them and things like that. And then accounting to me was always a challenge. How do you dive in and figure out why? Why we didn't lose a client? Why did that number go down? Trying to understand what's going on in the business. That was a strength of mine, a weakness of mine, but a strength of mine in terms of admitting where I wasn't very good. Because you can do anything. We could make a car, but there's really only one person on this panel that actually probably could make a car, and that's Robert Benton. But my point is that just because you can doesn't mean you should. What you got to do is surround yourself with people better than you until you don't really have a job anymore. And at that point, you have a business that's worth a lot of money. You can sell it for $10 million and do your thing. And that's what I did. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I just surrounded myself with people better than me at different things, and had some success doing it.
Yeah. Of course you can add.
So we did a employee evaluation within the company when we were about 10 employees. And when I'm sitting there and I'm working on service or I'm trying to figure out the next sale, we went through this evaluation, and what I discovered through this evaluation that my time was worth $3,000 an hour because I could sit there and sell. Why am I worrying about accounting and service and operations and everything else? When your time is worth $3,000 an hour, you better be out there selling.
It's kind of like clients, right? Yeah. The break-fix model. If you got a client paying you $100 an hour, but you can leverage with an MRR and they're paying you on average $500, you're not gonna keep doing break-fix.
If you're worth $3,000 an hour, you better be out there selling. But if you sell a $10,000 a month or a $20,000 a month contract, you better believe you're worth $3,000 an hour, or $10,000, or $100,000 an hour. What do you think Terry's time is worth running a $20 million, $30 million a year company?
So it's wild, isn't it? Doesn't it actually start getting easier the more people you get, though?
Absolutely.
Dude, that's the joy of growing a company. You get to a certain point, and it's just like,
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about when you got to scale, the difference it made from at the bottom where you have to be the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, somebody else is making the cake now.
Yep.
And then it's, because here's reality, and this is what I've said about people for a long time. I agree with Terry, we can do anything we want to because humans are creative. You give me enough time and I can create anything. The problem is somebody else can create it in 1/10 of the time. Why? Because that's their magic. I think if you ever find your plate, your magic in the company, it makes all the difference. And I'll tell you a quick story. I was at a EO forum. We had a moderator in, and he had been called in to consult with a $25 million company. And the reason why he was called in is because the bank had told this company, you got 3 weeks of credit left, and we will not extend anymore unless you make drastic changes in your company. And the guy's like, oh shit, what do I do? The guy comes in, he starts consulting, and he finds out, and he asks the guy, he goes, what do you do best? He goes, and this was a coffee company, he goes, I can sell coffee. That was his magic, I can sell coffee. So you have the owner of a $25 million company that decides that he is only going to be a salesman for the company. He doesn't run sales. He's a salesman with quota. He's not on the leadership team. He goes to no leadership meetings. He makes no decisions. He only sells. That company completely turned around, and he said something about last time he had talked to the guy, they were like $55, $60 million. Coffee. I don't even drink coffee, so I didn't give a shit really, but I thought the story was good. But the moral of that story is if kind of like you, right? You were like, I want a service, I want a service, I want a service. You have to decide what you're going to do, because if not, you'll micromanage everything as you scale up. But let's just talk for a second about how life got easier for you as employees kept coming in, because that's really, if you're in the room and you don't have 10 employees, you're still in the grind. You really are. And trust me, I promise you, it gets a lot better.
Yeah, well, really employees give you scalability. It gives you time to think about scalability. It gives you the opportunities that you didn't have when you were fixing that Exchange server or whatever it may be. And so what it allowed me to do is be the visionary with my COO. He was an amazing integrator, but he really empowered me to be the visionary within the company. And through that, all of a sudden, I started getting better deals. I started thinking about, why do I need lead gens? I started going to conferences. I mean, I think at one point I did 9 conferences within a single year, which was unheard of 5 years prior to me hiring employees.
That's awesome. Terry?
Yeah, it got way easier. I mean, let's just call it what it is. You can have some boondoggles, you can go on your boat, you can play on your bulldozer, whatever you want to do. But the key, I think, is having really good people around you. Again, you know, you have to have a team you can trust. You have to be willing to have some balls and empower them to make decisions.
You got to have what?
You heard me. And then you also have to be able to accept when they fail, right? Not beat them up. You gave them. They're in a learning curve just like you are. So that's the real key. It did enable me to think a little more forward thinking, right? Thinking about the sale. I worked on the sale for 3 years. You know, it was pretty much a part-time job for me between the learnings, and we did almost 80 management meetings with prospective buyers. So, I mean, it was a lot of time. Each one of them was a couple hours. So I was out of the office for probably a year just doing that. Yeah, and it really helps to have a team. We had about 30 people just for scale comparison.
And I love that thing about you where you say, basically you're saying you have to give employees grace, otherwise they don't grow. If you don't let your employees fail, one, they never move forward. They're always digressing backwards. But if you'll let them fail, and I'm not talking about big failures. I mean, my big thing in my company is a customer can leave for any reason except service. Do not let a customer leave because of service, you know. But you do have to let them, because if you're going to give them any decision-making process, which gives you free time to do things that you do in your world, you got to trust them and you got to give them grace.
You know, it's funny just hearing these guys talk. I think Terry always did a better job of work-life balance in the moment. My perception of you and your day-to-day operations, I'm still pretty crappy at that. I can work probably 15 hours a day, easy, either passively, like on my iPad, or you know, answer an email, or literally at my desk. I still go to the office every day. I still work probably, you know, 10 hours a day in the office, something like that. But what I'm working on is completely different. So my MSP, it took us 6.5 years to get to 49 people, and what I felt was about half the weight on my shoulders, every level of person between me and the customer. So like I remember like a text report to me. Okay, now I have a service manager. It's like boom, half the weight gone, half the stress gone, and then when you have a COO, half the stress is gone again. But either you can do a better job like Terry did, living a life in the moment and enjoying a little more time off, or you're just working on bigger and different things, you know. Marketopia, you know, we have an amazing team. And you can tell the team that put this show on is not a huge team. It's just a team of very amazing people. And you know, whether it's the head of digital, the head of creative, technology team, all the designers, it takes amazing people to do amazing things. And it oftentimes takes a leader the ability to step away and let them do their thing and give them the free rein to succeed and fail and grow. Give them open and honest feedback so that they know how to improve based on your perspective at least, and just let them do their thing. And I've been blessed with absolutely amazing people throughout my time. I think I've probably employed 2,000 people, something like that. I don't know exact numbers, but I look back on every one of them and I'm like, you're there for a reason. Either I learned something by making a mistake hiring you, or I hired you and you were absolutely amazing, you know, and it's a blessing, and you know, I'm proud of the team that we've assembled at Marketopia, and my MSP too. I mean, they're still there. You know, these guys were there. The foundation's literally still working there, and they were just great human beings striving to do great things for their clients with the right heart.
Can we give it up for the Marketopia team?
There you go. I remember the minute I was grateful for everything, and that is when I was not interfacing with pissed off customers anymore. Because here's the deal. So now we have sales and we have account management, right? A sales guy should not have to retain a customer. Why? Because you start losing some of your edge. When you truly believe everything's the best thing in the world, and that's what you want your salespeople to believe. If they don't believe your product is the best thing, if you're not the best MSP in the world to your salespeople, you need to fire them today. But if you get them there, you can't ruin them, because then they you know, hey, you sold it. Now, we didn't do a great job. Now you go out there and fix it. They're not built for that shit.
So true.
Salespeople love people, and we hate conflict. We love to sell. We love to better people's world, not get into the minutia of, I sold you what I felt was the best thing in the world, and some shithead just erased all your email.
And they lose their
That's bad,
mojo.
by the way.
They get momentum, salespeople. They close 3 in a row, 4 in a row. Then you give them
Absolutely.
a customer service program, a problem, they lose their mojo.
Yep. So, and sales ebbs and flow, right? I mean, you know, no one sells everything. They just don't. I don't care how good you are, unless you're selling gold bars for a nickel. You can sell a 100-ounce gold bar for a nickel right now, and I promise you they'll line up for 40 miles to get them. Unfortunately, we're not selling gold bars for nickels. So we got 8 minutes. I want to open it up for questions. Somebody else with a really good... Oh, shit. That's a great question. So when you sold, what's the first big ticket item you got?
I took my 12-year-old daughter and we toured Florida for 30 days. I realized I did not have to work. I did not have to come back. I had zero stress. So I called my sister-in-law. I asked her to feed the cats. And I went to Disney World and I spent 30 days touring Florida with no responsibilities except a 12-year-old.
I'm going to squirrel right here for a minute. Just how many cats are we talking about? Because you said cats, not cat. And my wife loves cats. All right, 2. All right. I've got 2 myself.
The big joke is I bought a bulldozer, which I did. But I also bought $1 million house in Orlando, in Disney, as a tax shelter, right? So I sold about the same time as Bob. So I bought a tax shelter, did a cost segregation, you know, did all the things to minimize my tax burden. And like Terry said, you know, I spent the last 20 years of my life living pretty good. I didn't work all the time. I was happy to take vacations. I was happy to go on boat rides. I lived by the Atlantic Ocean. So every Thursday, Friday, there'd be a boat ride, boondoggle, you know, with a bunch of guys going out. And, you know, I encourage you guys to try to live your life that way too. Work hard, but play hard too. This is not a dress rehearsal. They're going to put you in the box one day, and you don't want to be thinking about somebody's exchange server.
Yeah, when the merry-go-round stops, doesn't matter how many tickets you had to get back on it, it doesn't matter. I prescribe to this idea of buying every minute of every day for the rest of your life, and that's the only reason you build a business. If you build it for any other reason, you will die miserable. I'm just telling you, you'll die miserable. I don't give a shit what you have around you. If everything was about money and getting more all the way to the end, you have to get enough. And then think about it. You reverse the curse in the Bible where man was cursed to work by the sweat of his brow for the rest of his life. You can literally reverse the curse if you have the courage to get off your ass and move. I don't know where that came from.
Hey, Tim, can
I
I
used a
give
Bible
Ron a
thing
little-
and ass in the same thing.
Can I tell Ron a little bit more? So you asked what you did with the money, right? So you want to be smart about that, obviously, too, because your income stream is now completely dried up. You know, you have what you have, and that's it. So one of the things I'm struggling with, I sold in 21, I worked till 22 for the company that bought me, and now I'm pretty much retired. Is it enough, right? What's my spending? I've always had enough money. I never had a budget. I never paid any attention to money. I had enough. Now, I don't have any coming in. So it's really important that you think that through. I got a financial advisor. I got a wealth advisor. I made some private investments, which I'm tracking. You know, I made some real estate investments. Again, deferred some capital gains, did some smart tax planning because you don't get that money back. You know, that's gone.
If you plan right, you should make more money after you sell than you ever made before.
That was the one thing that I didn't realize is that when I sold and I'm sitting there after that first 30 days, I started worrying about the 85-year-old me, not the 51-year-old me.
Yeah. You have to plan right, you know. What'd you buy?
I did three things. The first thing I did was bought my dream house and all the toys needed to outfit it with jet skis and boats. I live on the Gulf of Mexico, Tampa Bay. I bought a beautiful home there that it's beautiful. I have a beautiful wife and family. And then let's see what else I did. I made some good investments in real estate. I think that's a common thing that people do with money because the rents tend to track inflation. So you know. So we'll have $40,000 a month in income, and when they're paid off in 10 years. So that's not Terry Rossi kind of money, but it's close. Bullshit. And then the third thing I did was this is the reason we're here, right? Marketopia. We spend a tremendous amount of money getting this thing spun up and helping people in Europe with our London office and here.
First thing I did was buy a ranch.
Nice.
And a bulldozer.
Nice. Did you?
Because
Really?
you got to clear. Yeah, you got to clear the trees off that sumbitch, right? And so I bought a ranch, put cattle on it, and that was the first company I sold, which was Citricom. And I bought a ranch and a bulldozer. You got to have a bulldozer. Men have bulldozers.
Now I want a
Let's be
bulldozer.
honest. What were you going to say? Sorry.
I said, now I want a bulldozer.
Yeah, you got to have a bulldozer. Yeah. You got to have a bulldozer. I mean,
My yard's not even big enough to put a building.
manly men have bulldozers.
Your front yard, you could put a bulldozer.
Front yard, yeah. The neighborhood might not like it too much.
Okay, we have time for one more question.
So, presumably, all of us sitting here want to be on stage with you at some point as multimillionaires. But I'm curious what you see the future of MSP firms. Should we all expect to be bought out at some point by a private equity firm or by the 20? I mean, are we all here? Is everyone here?
All of them.
Tim
We
says
are
yes.
buying. We are buying.
So,
Okay.
I mean, what do you see the future of MSP firms? Are we all going to go away and be part of this big conglomerate of large enterprise Fortune 100 companies?
I'll start off this one. So what I see of the future of our industry is, first, it's very bright. Problems don't go away. They're changing. The networks are getting more and more complicated as things become different. I think there's two groups of people out there. And it kind of goes back to the dreamers and the achievers. I think the dreamers are going to be what they are. They're going to run MSPs, have all the stress of owning a company and the income of having a job, if that. And then there's going to be people who go out there and achieve something extraordinary. And my goal is for everyone in here, everyone who entrusts Marketopia gets the privilege of working with people like this, achieves that dream. I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of consolidation in the industry. About half of all MSPs want to sell in the next 5 years. So you're going to see consolidation. The question is that because they shut the door and went home, or is that because they had an exit and they bought a bulldozer? That's going to be the determinant of what happens next. I think I wasn't joking about someone coming in and buying all of us. I actually really think that's going to happen. And people ask me what the exit in Marketopia is. I actually don't know what it looks like, because I can literally see someone coming in here and going, Terry, we'll give you 10%, but help us put it all together in a big bow and all exit with 20x valuation or something crazy like that. Because we have hundreds of MSPs around the world. I mean, it'd be like a worldwide technology company. And that's what I think is going to happen. What happens to me, I don't know, but if everyone can achieve their dreams in the process, then I'll retire a happy man.
I think, if you want my opinion, I think it's very close to what Terry said. I think you're going to be part of something bigger or you're always going to be small. That's reality. And if you sell to PE, most likely you're going to get, you saw the multiples earlier, and I'll bring this full circle here in a second. You're probably going to get the multiples that you saw up there. And they're not going to let you participate very big into that thing because there is so much money between here and here. I'll give you an example. I spent $16 million to create $100 million, over $100 million. Now that is only upside of accretion between multiples. That's all that is. The difference is between me, if I was, and I can only talk about me because I don't know what other people are doing, but in our instance, the 20, we all participate together in that. So once you're in the box, you participate at your level of all that accretion of every deal that happens after that. Nothing else like that. That's a way of being part of something bigger. One of our core values is we win together. I promise you, if somebody in here could coalesce, take 20 out of the equation. If somebody in here could coalesce and say, okay, we're going to figure out how we can all come together. The problem is a lot of egos in the room. I'm just telling you, first thing you have to kill is your ego, because you can't do it, because not everybody can be the visionary. You got to have butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, you got all that stuff. But if you could ever get beyond your ego and this little feeble-minded thought of, well, I've got $1.5 million company, I don't need anything else, you're full of shit. You're going to probably die. Why? Because there is absolutely no way that you can compete at parity. If my company came in 24/7, all U.S.-based help, or a 20 member came in against you, and they've got a 24/7 help desk, they've got 1,200 people at their fingertips that they can do it, and they charge the same as you, what's any smart company going to do? They're not going to take the little guy, most likely. So I'm just telling you, Terry has a really good point. You're better together than you are remotely apart. Your thought?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both these guys. I always had a saying in my business, grow or die. If you're not really committed to being not afraid and growing your business, and you can grow it, there's no reason you can't grow your business and become a multimillionaire, then you should be looking for somebody to roll you up.
Yeah, and you've got to innovate. I did in 2020 during the height of COVID, I did $1 million in projects converting all of my on-premise servers to Microsoft 365. Because if I'd have stayed on the on-premise track, I would not be up here today. You have to innovate.
Yep.
Artificial intelligence is coming. If you're not looking at it, I guarantee you the 20 is. I guarantee you everyone else is going to look at it. So you've got to innovate, you've got to incorporate, and then trust the people who are up here telling you this stuff.
This is great. I've got a red light blinking at me like I'm pretty sure it's fixing to shoot me or something. So we have no time left, but let's give them a hand. It is no short compliment or no short thing to say that somewhere around the 80% mark of MSPs never hit $1 million. So what these guys have done, you're looking at 20%ers up here. So if you ever needed somebody to fashion your business after, you have to look very far. They're right here. Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, no, it's all good, man. It's a pleasure to work with these guys. Obviously, we helped a couple of them exit, but the 20's doing amazing things, and appreciate their contributions to the success of us and our clients. All right, here we are. We have 15 minutes left. This session is making the decisions that lead to your dreams. We've talked a lot, and my last session is, we kind of talked a lot about what stands in the way of us achieving your dreams. And you heard some entrepreneurs up here talking about, getting out of their way and empowering their people and trusting and believing and finding people that are good at things they're not good at. And I would encourage you to spend a moment here just kind of thinking about your situation. What's stopping you? Like, what is literally stopping you from achieving your dreams? We just showed the math on the charts. It was just math. It wasn't some hocus pocus formula that we came up with. The reality is, the only thing that is stopping us is usually us. Our willingness to take chances, our willingness to find a banker to finance something, our willingness to be humble and learn, our willingness to trust. That's usually what keeps us from achieving your dreams. And for most people, it's about money. So I want to kind of talk about money. People call us, and it doesn't matter if it's literally like ConnectWise, Datto, or Billy Bob's one-man MSP. Almost every conversation starts, what can you do for us? And I literally come back with one question, which is basically, what's your budget? Anything is possible, right? It doesn't matter if you're selling widgets or you're selling managed services or whatever. Sales is a simple math equation. So it comes down to money and it gets very real. A lot of us are not well-capitalized businesses. A lot of us don't come from money. A lot of us don't have $100 million in the bank account ready to go. I joked about Trump getting $1 million from his dad to start his business. Not many of us get $1 million to start our business. The reality is we have to find a way to come up with the money to do what we do. And I don't want to talk about that because there's some honest conversations that need to be had. And this is the slide that you normally see, right? How do I get money? Well, you have money. You came for money, like Robert has, whatever Terry has. You go hit up your personal funds. Maybe you go to a bank, get an SBA loan. They're really a good place right now. There's a lot of working capital loans out there at the SBA at low interest rates. We're actually looking at them from Marketopia, in fact. I guess the government's kind of trying to really help small business, which is cool. You got the private equity venture capitalists. I'll kind of throw the 20 in there. They could probably help fund growth of your business by infusing some capital in there. The business itself has got credit. A lot of us fund our growth on credit cards. I can tell you my MSP did. I only had $24,500, right? So someone bought a big PC order. I didn't have the money to do it. So I'd a credit card roulette, put half of it on this one, a third of it on that one, put $50 over here, pay them off, do it again. Or we have a good billing model. And that's one of the things I think, if I really look back, like why was I able to succeed when I didn't have any money? And start off with billing. Actually billing in advance for the work you do. A lot of us, you hear people say things like PO or I dropped off the invoice. I couldn't do that. I didn't have any money, right? So what did I do? If I sold a server for $10,000 that had $5,000 implementation, I would get a check for $15,000. I didn't do it because I was brilliant. That's the only way I could buy the server and the only way I could hire the techs to do the work, right? But it became normal. Like your cable company, you don't pay after you watch Netflix. You pay at the beginning of the month for the month, right? Same thing with a lot of the invoices that we have. So you can grow on other people's money just by billing them in advance for the month that you're working. So someone gives you $5,000 on the first, you then pay someone $3,000 throughout the month and put the $2,000 somewhere, either in your pocket or investing it somewhere. Billing in advance for the work you do. Stop giving your customers terms. I can promise you, if you don't have a lot of money, if money is even a concern for you, you are not a bank. You're probably a very shitty bank. So why are you extending credit to your customers? No one calls Amazon to buy an 85-inch TV and asks for a 30-day payment term. You literally put your credit card information in before they even process the order. They ship it after. You know what I mean? It's negative DSO, or Days Sales Outstanding. When I put in Dell's ERP system when I was in Ernst & Young, and I remember there was a day where I learned about negative DSO, negative Days Sales Outstanding. They get paid, and then they order the parts, and they get 30 days on the parts, or 60 days, or 90 days on the parts from the vendor. So they get paid for all the work, do all the work, ship it to you, and they still haven't spent a dime on any of the hardware that goes into that PC. So they have negative Days Sales Outstanding. All that, you down with OPP, remember that song back in the day? It's down with other people's money. That's one source of growth. Stop taking deposits and start selling things, the whole thing. Get upfront 100% of hardware, 100% of labor. Start doing fixed bid projects so you can give a fixed bid expense. If you order a cloud migration for 20 grand, you should get a check for 20 grand, and then you start doing the work. All of a sudden now you take that 20,000, you put it to work, right? You start investing it. You're getting other people's money. So I remember my MSP would get about $500,000 at the start of the month for the month. From that, I paid my expenses. But I was always, payroll, you have a 2-week lag, right? So you start doing the math, and all of a sudden you have a negative DSO as an MSP as long as you get the money up front. You have to do it for everything you do. But that's not enough. One thing I want you guys to understand is that you deserve to make a profit. There's a lot of people in here, and I've had some really great conversations over drinks throughout time, of people that are stealing from themselves, their family, their kids, their employees, to give the customer that was there first a price that's a fraction of what it costs to actually do the work. That's not okay. You're literally stealing from your children to help a customer that doesn't give two craps. They don't even appreciate it at all, because we're also really bad at showing people the value of what we give them if we're giving them a deal. They're like, you know, they'll complain about the service for a product that you're selling at a 50% loss. And you're just like, you know this, but we're bad at telling people that. So you deserve to make a profit. So what does that mean, right? First, it means you got to stop over-investing in things. We tend to spend a lot of money on things that don't really matter. You know, one of the things about Marketopia is we're all Mac. Okay, it's crazy. We have one of the largest Mac call centers in the world. No one has a Mac call center. Why? Because my MSP, I was sick of hearing every terminology that related to Windows in my life, so I went all Mac. But one of the benefits of it is that Macs don't get replaced as often. In fact, people don't even care about when you're going to replace a Mac. A 5-year-old Mac is a perfectly fine computer, whereas a 5-year-old PC is expected to be replaced. Don't overinvest in things that don't really matter. And for MSPs that love engineering and love computers, that tends to be on the service side. We had a customer fire us probably 3 months ago because he lost his biggest client. And I'm literally on the other end of the phone, I'm just like staring at the phone like, I've been working my ass off for years to teach you to know that that statement is totally asinine. If you lose your biggest client, you need to lose the engineers that do the work. You don't cut the future, right? It's so ridiculous. But that's the kind of thing that we do in this industry, is we overinvest in the services side. We have too many techs. Guys, works will expand to fill the time you give it. You could have a 20-hour-a-week job. If you have 2 techs to do it, they'll spend 40 hours each, period. Stop over-investing. Become lean and mean in the services side of your business. The reality is, the dreams that we all had and we talked about an hour ago, should be expectations for you because you're actually mathematically doing what it takes to achieve them. One of the biggest travesties you'll have in your whole life, we talk about the businesses that never get past $1 million in revenue. Their dreams never changed. It's just one day they woke up and realized they're not going to hit it. Because they've been in fantasy land this whole time about their dreams becoming possible when they're not actually doing what it takes every day to achieve their dreams. What I want you to do is to take money away from your business to do 2 things. And you saw me with the speakers. I want you to make a profit. Profit. Everyone in here deserves to make at least as much as they make if they got a job with someone else. Now, I am okay with saying, you know what? I'll make that next year because this year, because I want to make twice what I want to make, this year I'm willing to sacrifice. Short-term sacrifice is perfectly fine. Do that to get a customer, do that to get the income you want, but you should be able to, at any point in time, pull down, at least what you're worth on the open market, preferably 2 or 3 times that. I want you to invest in sales and marketing by putting that money aside and saying, this is my dream. Whatever the math requires for me to achieve my dream, I need to put it aside or find a way to put it aside or build a plan to put it aside. One thing I've asked my team to do is to stop thinking in proposals about the here and now. Institute disciplines in the proposal. People ask, why do you have contracts, Harry? I don't really care about the contract. The reality is that's the only way to instill tenacity and discipline in our customers. If they have a contract, they can't just lose their biggest customer and stop all their marketing and their growth and fire their whole sales team. They just can't. It's in a contract, right? Because what you need most when you lose your biggest customer is another customer, right? Invest in sales and marketing until your dreams are aligned with your actions. To do that, you very likely need to raise your prices significantly. And since 2009, inflation has gone up 20.3%. Have you kept up with that number? If you go back to those contracts that you've had, that you inked 5 years ago, look at the inflation since then and see how you're stacking up. That is your personal report card about how disciplined you are as a business owner. If you're going to give your employees a 5% raise and you're going to pass on to your customers a 0% raise, you have literally failed as a business leader. You've stolen from your future to give it to that customer because it costs you at least 5% more to do the work that you sold them. You have to have the discipline and rigor to raise your customers. And I can promise you, it's a lot easier to do every year a little bit than it is to do what I'm asking you to do right now, which is probably to go back and jack a lot of prices up there. A lot of prices have gone up a lot, and your clients don't know it because you haven't raised their price. And if they went competitive on the market, they'd find that things are a lot more expensive than what you're charging them. So stop stealing from yourself, your family, your kids. Stop underpaying your techs because you can't afford to pay them what they're worth by charging what you're worth. What I want you to think about is if you literally pass on a 10% price increase today to your customers, 10%, that's not even a big number. But if your income goes up by 10% and your expenses don't change, what happens? That is probably all the money you need to achieve your dreams right there. I asked David Powell to come in how you can double revenue with your customers, and he talked about cross-sell and upsell and security and all these things, and that's all true, and you can sell your way out of the same problem, but raising the prices for the work you do to keep up with inflation is your responsibility as a business owner. You're irrational if you think that you can become efficient at the rate of inflation, especially right now when our government is spending so much more money than it makes. Our inflation is going to be ridiculous for a long time because neither party has the courage to cut entitlement programs, right? That's really the bottom line. So you better get on par. Take the clause out of your contract with Marketopia about raising prices and slap it in your contract. You owe yourself to do that, and it's your job to have the discipline to actually implement that every day. Raise your prices. You do that math in your head. If your dream is to get 20 appointments a month and that's going to cost you 20 grand, whatever the number is, 25 grand. If you raise your prices 10%, you probably have more than enough. And you should be raising your prices over 10% because inflation has been way more than that last 2 years. You know what I mean? That's how simple it is. You just have to have the discipline to do it. And it's hard. We have some people in here that actually had passed on a 25% increase. I'm not sure. I don't see him. He passed on 25% increase and didn't lose anybody. 25%. So we don't usually increase prices out of fear, right? And customers will always beat you up on the quality of your service to try to convince you not to give them a price increase, but you need to help them understand that the only way to make it better is to have better techs and pay the techs you have more so they stay, so they provide that quality of service. You can't keep cutting your income, raising your expenses, and expect to provide great customer service, great customer experience. You're just kidding yourself. You got to run a profitable business. I want you to make sure that you have a plan for every contract you ever get to become profitable. And I don't care if it's profitable on day one. One of the things when the copier guys bought me is they would go into a big company and undercut the incumbent by a significant margin to win the deal. And they took that exact clause that's in our agreements about up to 10% a year and used that to fix that problem. It's okay to lose money on year one as long as you make money in year two and over the life of the contract. You go back into your agreements right now. If you've got customers that cost you more than you get to achieve them, and it's not some sort of plan that you have that you're going to do for a year to, fix that. Fire the customer or more likely raise the price. Just raise the price. Have an honest conversation with them. Hey, here's inflation. When you go to the grocery store, and I love steak, if you look at the cost of a ribeye now versus 5 years ago, it's substantial. But do I go to the butcher and expect him to match the 2019 price? What would happen? He would look at me like I'm absolutely insane. Yet you're letting your customers do that to you. Hey, I need better service, man. You can't raise my prices this year because you suck. Okay, well, my expenses went up by 5%, so either I'm going to cut 5% on my staff, which of course is going to hurt your customer service, or we're going to have to reach a meeting of the mind. The same thing happens at the butcher. You got to raise prices as salaries increase, at least at that rate. So if you're passing on 6%, I want you to use that as the baseline. You should be raising your prices to your customer at more than the price of your salary increases because most of our expenses are tied to salaries. And the ones that aren't, like health insurance, are going up at more than the rate of inflation. So you've got to be in excess of the prices, the raise rate that you're giving your employees should be less than the price of the increase you're giving your customers. Stop taking away money from the business for charity cases. If you've got the customer that you love so much, and that's why you're doing unlimited support for $20 a user, understand that you're stealing from yourself, and you need to move that from a business expense to a personal expense. If you care so much about that charity that you're willing to give them $80 a user per month, you need to recognize the fact that you're actually making a contribution. You're being a shitty business owner. Stop hiring, overhiring and overstaffing. Stop hiring the best engineer you can find and start hiring the minimum viable product. The engineer that you actually need to get the work done that you have. Stop hiring a level 3 because you find them because great engineers are hard to find, and they are. But you don't need a staff of all level 3s, which a lot of us over the years have built. Overstaffed engineers. A level 1 engineer these days in the cloud can do almost everything. You need a lot less level 3 engineers now than you did 5 years ago. Understand the difference between an investment and expense. We talked about that this week, and I think it's really important for you to kind of have that honest talk with yourself. Is this an investment or an expense? And I want you to focus all of your money and time on making investments until your dreams and your actions are aligned. If mathematically you need 20 appointments to achieve your dreams, then nothing should stop you from getting to 20. That should be where 100% of your income goes until your interests are aligned. Because the biggest travesty would be if you work your whole life only to find out that the dreams you always had for yourself were actually fantasies that you had no chance of achieving. And that's where a lot of us are today. If you leave you with nothing else, I want it to be that. To leave with one of two things. Either a formal decision that you've made to align your dreams with your actions by getting the number of leads you mathematically need to achieve them, or a committed, defined plan to do that. Stop trying to wonder whether it's half caller or full caller or a lead gen that's going to produce 2 or 5. Figure out what that number is and commit yourself to it. There's nothing you can't achieve. We could all cut our expenses 10% today. We all could increase our prices at 10% a day. The delta is 20%. So there's no excuse. There's no excuse to have a disconnect between your dream and your action. There's absolutely no excuse at all. I want you to invest to lead, invest what it takes to turn your dreams into expectations. We've got a lot of things that we're doing at Marketopia with that goal in mind, which is to make you not procrastinate, because that's the number one enemy that we have. It's easy to go to gym tomorrow. It's easy to start the diet tomorrow, right? Tomorrow never comes. It just becomes perpetually tomorrow. So I want you to do that for yourself. Do that for your family, your kids, the future you. I want you to do whatever it takes to get where Terry Rossi is right now, where he's going to get back on an airplane, back to his farm, get on his bulldozer, and knock over a tree. My family has bulldozers, but it's to bury the dead horses. Totally different problem. Do it for yourself. Do it for your family. Do it for your kids. Do it for your employees. Do it for the future you. You work really hard. You're good people. You absolutely deserve to achieve your dreams. So do what it takes. Thank you very much, guys. Andrew, can you come on back up?
All right. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right. So what do we think about these last 2 sessions? The panel, amazing. Terry, right? He's amazing. Now you know why I married him, right? He's a good guy.
Did you say hired him?
No, married him.
Oh, married him. I was like, what?
I hired him too.
I knew I was getting paid, but I couldn't figure out how. Okay.
So we're going to get into the next and last portion of this event. I hope that you all have had such an amazing time, and I'm so thankful for every single one of you that have been sitting in these seats and going around and enjoying yourself and getting the most out of this conference, as well as obviously the sponsors and the speakers and everyone who has come together with the sole purpose of helping you achieve what you have set out to do. So it's really, really special. We are going to give away some awards, but before we do that, I want to allow any of the vendors who have raffle items or giveaways. If you have a raffle item or a giveaway and you want to come up here and give it away on stage, you're more than welcome to. If you want to mail it in or do something along those lines, you can. But come right here on the side of the stage and I'll call you up one by one. If I can get a handheld as well. Come on up. Threat locker, here we come. All right. All right, I'm gonna give a handheld mic for you to say exactly what your amazing prize is. Thank you, sir. All right, come on up here. All right, so Threat Locker. Who stopped and talked to the Threat Locker team? Everybody? Everybody? Awesome. Okay, what do you have to give away?
We have cold hard cash.
Oh,
So
yeah.
spend on whatever you want.
Who doesn't love that? Okay, who's the winner? You pick. I'll hold. I'll hold. Wait, I have to put it near your hand. Dun, dun, dun.
Tim Gregg, True Tech.
Tim Gregg, yeah, come on up. Awesome. There you are. Congratulations.
Sweet. Can't beat that, man.
Thank you to Threat Locker. Come on up.
That's awesome.
All right.
All right.
Lots of giveaways.
Hey, I've had a great time this week. This is my first time at Growcon. I've learned so much from you guys. I've learned so much from talking to you. I want to give a big thanks to Sean Marino for encouraging me to come. And what I've got here is the first prize is a Beats Studio Pro headphones. So for your trip back, nice noise canceling.
Love that.
So if you, Andrea, would help me by
Sure.
choosing the first one, that'd be great.
Dun, dun, dun. Of course, E3. Come on. Oh, yeah, who won it? Brandy. Come on up, Brandy.
Okay, the next one is something that is important to remember. We all deal with a lot of close shaves in business, right? So we've got an electric rechargeable razor
Here, hold
that
up so they
looks
can
like,
see.
yeah, if you would do that. It is in the form of a stormtrooper. So if you're a Star Wars fan, let's do the next one.
All right. All right, Catherine.
Of course, it would have
From-
been Catherine.
What? No, there's more than one Catherine, maybe. Okay, wait. So, Catherine, I'm going to butcher your last name.
I think it's
Gyn? Yeah?
Gwen.
Gwen? Gyn? Gwen? Well,
So
you
of course,
won
probably
this.
The one woman who
And this
was
can
in
be
the
an
drawing
amazing stocking
wins the
stuffer for
shave.
someone that you love.
Yeah.
Come on up.
You can re-gift.
She's like, of course she wins this one.
Hey,
she
girl
wants to
shave
trade.
too, girl
She wants
shave
to trade
too.
for the next one. You're welcome. Sure.
Might be able to trade it for a Bose headset over there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, maybe Andy wants to make a trade. This is like that Christmas exercise where you switch the gifts. Yeah.
White elephant?
White elephant.
Yeah, white elephant.
Okay, so the last one is a Bluetooth portable keyboard, a multi-device, so you can't do everything with your thumbs, and this will help you with that. So go ahead.
Okay.
Wow, it's like Christmas.
Dun,
Like
dun,
Santa Claus.
dun. All right, we have Russell Craze. Is Russell here?
Russell here.
Must be present to win, Russell.
Okay.
Russell's not
Russell,
here?
you
Oh, I
let
just
us
saw
down.
Russell. Russell's a great
think
guy.
Russell may have left.
Did he leave? Okay. Oh, poor
right, so
Russell.
we'll try
That's
another
unfortunate.
one.
Okay. Next up is Next Level IT Pros, and it's Chris Ross. Is Chris Ross here? All right. Come on up. Congratulations. Thank you
Awesome.
for
Thank you so
everything.
much,
Thank
man.
you. All right, and last but not least, to grace the stage, Mr. Michael DePalma, our diamond sponsor, Kaseya IT Connect.
All right, so we are raffling off a 4-in-1 Mophie charger mat. We don't have it here, so we'll ship it to you. So if you win and this isn't the address you want us to ship it, so let me know. But you get
am
to
I
pick.
picking? Okay. I don't want to drop one. Take that one back. Okay, who is this? Dun, dun, dun. Richard May. Richard May. Yay, Richard! Yes, Interlogic. Awesome, yes. Thank you so much, Michael and team, for everything. Our last but not least raffle item is for the passport winners. So everyone had their passports. They went around and they met with all the individual vendors. I actually don't need this. I'm double miking myself. So we have the raffle for, if you've ever been to one of Marketopia's booths, so we sponsor so many of these events, as you know. We have a hologram that goes around and it has our name in it. So it says Marketopia, it says some other things in it, and you can program them. We do have one of them out here too. So at every single event, we have MSPs in droves come up and say, how can we get one of those? What is that? That's really cool, on and on and on. So we decided that we were gonna give out a smaller version of it, and we will be shipping this to you, we have it. And it's a smaller frame version, it's really cool. You can program it to say anything that you want. And the winner of that is Ryan Homan. Yay! Congrats, Ryan. Well, wait, you don't actually have to come up. I'm shipping it to you. Okay, congratulations. I cannot wait to see what you program it. They're really, really awesome. Okay, so on to the next awards. So we are giving away, you voted, right? So we have all these amazing sponsors. I've talked about them a million times and I will continue to because they're that important to this event and to everything that you're doing in your business. So we have these sweet little awards and they're tiny for a reason because we want these to sit on the desk of these vendors to remember to continue to be partner first. And they're in the shape of a rocket because that's their job, to skyrocket your business, to help you grow, to help you generate net new revenue and take your business to the next level through partnership. So we've got 4 of these that we're giving out. The first one, I actually don't even know who these are awarded to because the team just did it. So Best in Show. So again, you voted on this. Best in Show is going to go to IT Complete Kaseya. Awesome. Come on up. Come on up. This will look so cute on your desk. Are we gonna do a photo? Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
You get to go in the middle. You guys get to go in the middle. Thank you for everything.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is your little guy. You guys can decide who gets it. I'll just send you another one now. Awesome. Thank you both. I know, right? Scully missed it. You guys get to rock, paper, scissors for it. I love that. Okay, next up, Best Solution. You want to present? You want me to present? Okay.
All right, the winner of this is Citricom.
Citricom, come on up. Yay. I know, we're going to have to send multiple for you guys. Congratulations.
Absolutely.
Congratulations, team. Got it? Awesome, awesome. Yay, you're welcome, you're welcome. Thank you guys for everything. And these are the votes of you, so that's awesome. All right, next up. Oh, okay. I can see the winner. I just saw the winner. So the next is Best New Offering. And again, you voted on this, so this is up to you. Token, congratulations on being the Best New Offering. Come on up, Beth. Token definitely has a unique offering, so if you did not check them out or have the opportunity to chat with them, you absolutely should. So this is Beth gracing our stage. Come on up. Congratulations. You're welcome. Yes, John's gonna love it.
I know.
Okay. Oh, well, you go in the middle. You go in the middle.
Oh, in the middle.
It's about you, not us. Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All
And
right,
last
the
but not
last
least,
award
go for it.
is presented to the best partner for MSPs to help them grow.
Oh, I love
and
that.
the winner of that is the 20.
The 20.
How about that?
Come on up. Come on up. Who's coming up? Oh, yeah. The whole team. Oh, cool. How fitting. For you. For you, for whoever. Congratulations.
You bet to her.
Chris.
You bet to her.
Oh, yay. Congratulations, guys. Come on, get in the middle. You guys all get in the middle. All in the middle. All in the middle.
Over here.
Okay, we'll look over there. Congratulations, guys. That's so fitting. I love that you guys got it. That's awesome. Congratulations. Love you.
All right. With that, Growcon 23 is coming to a close. Matt Hoffman is going to be out there signing books. Great guy. Hopefully you guys enjoyed his session. Anything you'd like to say? Any parting words?
I hope that this was inspirational to you, and I genuinely hope that this isn't one of those conferences that you came to, you maybe took a bunch of notes or you got a bunch of email done in your seat and maybe had a couple of conversations that were really high level. This is intended to be the complete opposite of that. So I genuinely hope you left with friends that you didn't even know you were gonna make, deeper relationships with the friends that you had, and maybe some funny memories that you can laugh about at the next conference together. And I really hope that you met some vendors that will help your business grow. And I hope that you left inspired with things that you're gonna take back to your team and be be a leader and cascade that vision into your organizations so you can actually get where you can be and you can achieve the next time we come to this conference together. So I hope you guys had a blast. Appreciate every single one of you, and we cannot wait to see you grow.
And my parting word is this. I hope that our conference the last 3 days, that our team has done its job, which is to remove whatever excuses you have coming to this show for not achieving your dreams. Because I know a lot of you personally as well as professionally, and every single one of you deserve to achieve them.
Amen. Yay. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right. So we will have a little more expo time to kind of meet with the winners of the awards, but also every other vendor in here. So we'll have about an hour to do that, and then we're going to break into peer groups. Whether you're a client or not, you are welcome to join the peer groups. There's going to be 2, and they're going to be on the 3rd floor. They're going to go from 1 to 5. You also are encouraged to meet with your host, whether it's Andrew on the vendor side or any of the Marketopia team. You can have a one-on-one meeting with them in Sandpiper 1, or you can find them around. And then and Sandpiper 2 as well for the growth conversations. And then tomorrow we're having an open house in the Marketopia office. You're welcome to come. No agenda. You can meet with who you want to meet with, and there's going to be a happy hour at the end. Thank you again. Appreciate you guys.